Scenic View.
Hello, and welcome to the SaladCast on Saturday the 16th of June 2018. It's our E3 special.
16th.
Joining me today, my esteemed pals, Zachary Burgess.
Wasn't what I was expecting when you said you were going to emphasise an E. I thought it started with an E.
And Robert Kemp.
You have to embrace the random nature of the intros.
We've definitely done specific ones for E3 before.
C3 Nick, I could have said.
Yes, maybe.
Yeah, but let's scrub it. Start again. All right, wink. C3 Nick View.
So Scenic View is the name of this ship, is it?
No,
we're way past ships, man.
Oh, what are we on?
We're on random paint color names.
What? Oh, yeah. Scenic View. Oh, God.
This is from the Valspar Teal range.
Valspar.
Top tip, if you need a teal, they've got lots of them.
Like most paint companies, I'm sure.
Yeah. Well, Valspar are that one where they do the blends, so they've got like 1 billion, which makes it quite a good resource for this randomizer.
Yeah, but not all of... You can't have infinite names. The ones that they've named are specific ones.
I don't know, maybe they have a system like in, Startopia or whatever, where it like randomizes the combinations.
They've just thrown some words in and
Put some words in a text file.
yeah. That might be why the blue we've used to paint the bedroom is called Bold Move. I don't know.
What other games have that? How did it work in black and white, where it had like some of the villagers had the names of your friends? Where did it get that from? Like your
Oh yeah, good question.
contact list or something?
Remember.
That was a bit early for like contact lists and
We look like some
Hotmail account or something.
Or was that another one that we edited to do that? I don't remember.
Maybe.
Because that's what we did with Startopia.
Yeah.
Because it was just a text file.
I thought that was a feature for some reason. It would be nowadays, obviously,
Well, yes.
because no one cares. At the time, no one used their real name on the internet, because why would you do that?
These were the days where Count Splatula would terrify Quake servers.
Or Glacial Spoon.
Well, Count Splatula probably predated.
Predated.
Yeah. The Splatula. Okay, so what we're here to do, Dan?
We're here to cover the 2018 E3 event. That's the fourth E. So it's the Electronic
E.
Entertainment Expo event. That's taking place in LA, as you probably know if you're a gamer, which you probably are if you're listening to this podcast. So we're here to give you our unique take on what's been going on, our thoughts, feelings.
Where we basically just shit on everything.
But some things we have positive views on, I'm sure.
No,
Excitement.
we do.
Hype is building for some of us. So we're going to do our thing.
I mean, that's not where we're going to start.
No.
No. Well, we'll
I'll
start.
tell you that now.
We'll start with the fun shitters. So bring out the press conferences, Maestro.
All right. Do we want to do? There's a couple of things that sort of came out prior to E3, but are sort of part of the E3 nonsense.
And stuff after the E3 that was not in a press conference.
Exactly.
So just shove in here, I guess.
Exactly. But let's get DOA 6 out of the way. Dead or Alive 6. They put a trailer out. It looks like a Dead or Alive game. They are supposedly intending to slightly de-sexy the game, but they've said that before.
Yeah, I'm sure. No, no one actually showed.
Is that a feature? De-sexy.
No one actually showed in a press conference Soul Calibur over, did they?
No, that's very true.
But I have seen people playing that at E3. So
yeah, I haven't
exists.
seen anything written about or any news floating around about Soul Calibur. Actually, I'm assuming they're just doing their normal thing that they've been doing leading up to this point, which has just been we're going to just trickle out the characters till it launches, because that's all they can do, I suppose, with that game. But yeah, didn't show up anywhere at all.
I mean, I saw people playing it, so it's there somewhere. But
Yeah.
who knows what company even is that?
It'd be Namco, right?
I guess.
But do Namco Bandai have a booth? I guess they must.
Maybe.
For Dark Souls, probably.
Well,
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah, we'll come back to the stuff that wasn't there, I suppose, because that will ruin the surprise. And also Hitman 2 got announced before the show as well.
Because that's no longer owned by Square.
Yeah, IO Interactive came out and said, "Yep, we're making it." So yeah, like the game everyone expected to be happening from that team is happening. Big whoop. We'll come back to it though because it did come up in one of the shows, but it was announced prior to things. It came up in PC Gaming.
That doesn't count. We're not doing that anyway.
We're not doing PC Gaming.
It's not a conference.
It's a conference.
It's not a conference. It's a show. It specifically says in the name.
It's a PC Gaming show.
What's the difference?
The difference is that it's just a bit like it's just trailers and talking to devs on a stage.
But Nintendo isn't
that's the show.
But it's not a company. It's an amalgamation of random things.
True, but I think there's some stuff worth going through.
Well, yeah, but that's what I was saying for this bit. With the bit at the start when we're talking about stuff that's not in the conferences.
We'll tackle PC Gaming when we get to it.
I don't think we will.
All right, let's start with EA.
The media briefings.
Yes, EA's media. What do they even call it?
Well, they call it EA Play because they've got their own conference now, basically.
Yeah, they don't attend E3.
They do their own thing
at the same time, sort of down the street.
Yeah.
What?
Okay. I mean, let's go into this saying EA have had a pretty bad track record when it comes to these things.
And this year is bad too.
Woo!
Bad.
So they had a little pre-show
as well.
Yeah. So they had a little pre-show going on.
Well, I think pretty much everyone had some kind of pre-show.
Yeah. So there were two things I spotted in this. One of them being a mobile game based on Madden called Madden Overdrive. It looks like they're just sort of focusing on quick plays and somehow turning that into a very fast-paced pick-up-and-play game.
Blitz, but for mobile.
Yeah, basically. So there's that. And Sims is getting a seasons update.
Which we already knew about, I
Yep.
guess.
So there we go.
For a long time, because that somehow still doesn't come out.
So that was their pre-show. So let's talk about the terrible, terrible lack of information surrounding Battlefield 5.
Well,
So why don't... Okay.
Let's start by talking about how EA completely bollocks up their conference in general, which is that they talked first and then showed trailers.
Yeah,
which is just the worst possible way to do it.
They've done this every year, like in recent memory, where they just open with saying, "And now to talk about something."
But not always.
And then they walk on stage.
When they did the Plants vs Zombies and stuff, they had the big dramatic. At least they led in with something a bit more interesting than just.
Well, they surprised you a little bit because the guy would just come out to danger zone in a zombie suit, or whatever, just be like, "Surprise, we're doing this thing." But no, they would just very casually go, "And now we're going to talk about this, and we're going to talk about this for an incredibly long time before we show you anything interesting."
And not very much.
And Battlefield was just a whole load of nothing. It's I think we got the light version of what they had done for the press briefing about a couple of weeks ago that we talked about last time. They seem incredibly reluctant to show this game.
Yeah,
it's disturbing, like just how little of it they're showing us.
Did they say in the conference, or did they say another outside that obviously they're doing Battle Royale?
They mentioned it in the conference. That came up.
Although
I think they're just calling it
game at launch, though.
No, that's the take. Yeah, and I think they're just calling it Royale as well.
Yeah, you can't actually call it Royale.
Battlefield Royale.
Yeah, Battlefield Royale.
Yeah,
exactly.
With cheese.
Well, that would make sense. Yeah. It sounds like that's still very much they don't know what they're doing, but they've at least committed to it.
And if you want to bitch about realism in Battlefield 5, just throw that completely out the window with Battle Royale, because that doesn't make any sense.
No.
True. Yeah.
Oh, it might make sense, in Berlin, right at the end, when the Russians are the storm.
But that would be a fleeting battle. That's about all you get.
Yeah. So what actual takeaways have you got from this? You can move turrets now by attaching them to vehicles.
Which is bound to be useless and dumb.
Who's going to do that? Is it actually going to be viable in the middle?
I think the answer is everyone's going to do it because you're basically just attaching another gun to a vehicle.
Oh, I guess.
You can still fire it while it's moving.
I'll just leave it there, you reckon, and just tow it.
Yeah. It won't be about moving defensive positions, it'll be about adding more firepower to your vehicle.
Do you reckon you can fire it while it's moving?
I'm pretty sure they showed that in one or other of the trailers.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah. There was one other new thing, wasn't there? Grand Operations is back, which I think it wasn't called Grand Operations before, but it's basically that multiplayer campaign mode they added to Battlefield 1. They were showing off their destruction, which looked all right. Like the way the snow fell off the roof, I thought was quite nice. Until it disappeared.
Yeah, it was all right until it just hit the ground and went poof.
Yeah, classically. I'm a little bit worried about how easy that tank just drove through that building. Right? Is that because there's never been quite that easy, right? So, but then I suppose the tanks are bigger and heavier in World War II than they have been in World War One.
I don't think World War One even counts really.
No,
that was a different game altogether.
Yeah, so that like how
to compare it more to like 3 and 4.
Will every
like you can't just drive through the buildings and they actually are quite sturdy.
Yeah.
Until the point where they suddenly turn into a rubble.
I guess the tanks aren't actually bigger; they're actually smaller, but they are more powerful and more armored and stuff.
Yeah, I wonder if it will just the bit that worries me is like, will the battlefield just will towns just turn into flat rubble piles like within the first 4 minutes?
Well, yes, probably.
Like rather than over the course of a fight.
I mean, that's not unrealistic, but
I mean, that's basically that's more or less how it worked in Battlefield 3 and 4, where apart from it wasn't like the whole map. No. It was like as soon as there was one building that was near a flag, you can guarantee that building is not going to survive virtually far into the map at all. A tank will come up there and just shoot it until it's a rubble pile, just so it's not there any longer.
Yeah, pretty much. It's like, well, there can't be anyone hiding in it if there's no building there. I suppose they talked about the slightly increased freedom of movement.
Did they really?
I mean, we saw that.
They said you could jump out a window.
Yeah, they said, and that some of the you can crawl on your back now, and
as useful as that will be.
Yeah.
Except that's not even I mean, technically, you could already crawl on your back because you can move backwards while prone, and that's technically what that is.
I guess,
except they just never showed it as being crawling on your back.
I mean, you can now shoot while diving. I think is the other thing some people noticed. Like mid-dive, you can be firing bullets.
Barely a change at all.
Yeah,
and also, COD had that whole problem. Dolphin diving, that was the whole problem with that. That's why they got rid of prone in COD, basically.
Like the bunny hop problem, effectively. It's just a modern bunny hop. Will everyone just do that immediately upon seeing each other? Like the goats that faint. Yeah. Like, just be like, Blair!
I mean, the reason why it was fucked in that COD game where it was the biggest problem was because the hitboxes didn't line up.
Right.
So the animation didn't really match with where the hitboxes were, so it threw off your aim really badly, and everyone was just doing it constantly, so it looked really dumb and fucked with the hitboxes.
Yeah. Strange. It's just like we know all this stuff, and they did show some like little snippets of footage, as I say, so we can see some of this in action. But it was all very little for the amount of time spent, And then they said, "Oh, hey, the story's come back in its vignette form," and we saw an incredibly disjointed set of tiny clips that don't really tell us anything about the characters we're looking at.
Well, I mean, they then said they're going to show it in Microsoft, and they even coming to that later. They barely did there.
Yeah,
either.
I mean, it's worth bringing up now. Like, just get it over and done with. They didn't show really anything extra there either. It was I mean,
they showed marginally more of that story thing they were trying to show.
Yeah,
but not in any coherent way that made it look like a campaign.
Like maybe 10 seconds more overall, and just what are you doing? Like, what is wrong with this game? Is what's making me like.
What's wrong with this game is that it's just that same Battlefront 2 engine.
You hate that engine, that part.
I don't hate it that much. It's just it never feels like it's played right. And there's the whole subset of that engine where it's just like planes are presumably just going to spawn in midair again. And all that stuff.
I think that's already been.
It just doesn't feel very good to play that engine. I don't think.
You want more of the old school style. Yeah. Planes actually spawn on airfields and.
Yeah. I mean, that was the whole thing we said about Battlefield, where it's just like, why did they not just make a nice modern World War II game?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why did they have to go in mental? But yeah. Anyway, done with that because they seemed done with it.
Yeah. EA seemed done with most of the stuff that they showed. Apparently.
Let's have a long conversation about FIFA 19.
As you do.
It
looks like a FIFA game.
What, they're making a football game?
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's good. The World Cup is on at the moment, so it's kind of.
Oh yes, but that World Cup stuff is in FIFA 18.
Yeah.
I get confused now because that's the game that's out.
Oh, so why would I care about FIFA 19?
Because it's got the Champions League.
Yeah.
Because apparently Namco doesn't have that license any longer.
Konami,
yeah.
But Liverpool lost in an embarrassing way, so.
Well, maybe now they've got the managers in the game, they can put sad Jurgen Klopp in it, and that's worth having. Jurgen Klopp's all right. He's not Mourinho. Is it Jurgen? Jurgen?
Something like that.
Yeah. I don't really know what to say, really. Like, they didn't even have a story thing to latch onto this year.
They briefly mentioned Alex Hunter.
Yeah.
He still exists.
But they didn't focus on it this year.
They also didn't show any I mean, they showed as much gameplay as FIFA always is when they show it, which is not actual gameplay.
I mean, they did in their post show. I think they had some people playing it, and like pros came in to do some team stuff in the post show. But yeah, again, it's the problem with these sports things. Actually, didn't they last year go into the detail of like, hey, this is what we've actually changed? To the mechanics?
That's what I was expecting. I was expecting at least a momentary thing where it's like, oh, here's a new animation engine or whatever.
Yeah, or
that's
a new
what they
mode,
usually do in the sport.
Because then they have Be a Pro as well now or something. Is that what it's called? Be a Pro mode, like where you're following a guy.
Yeah, I think they had that last time.
The Libero Grande mode.
Yes.
But yeah, it's just doesn't sound like there's anything really to talk about this year. It's just another game.
I mean, there never really is anything to talk about, but even less so.
Yeah. And this is the general theme of this show. It's EA, but less.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't get a brief. I've put a note in at this point saying I'm bored already.
Let's not bore our listeners then.
Nope. They briefly mentioned that they are dabbling with the streaming stuff, a bit like PlayStation Now. They didn't give it a name, I don't think, but that they're planning their own streaming service of some kind. So there's that, because EA want to do things themselves. And they also talked about Origin Access Premiere.
Yep, pay even more money.
Yeah. Also, so this is a very important point here. Origin Access and EA Access apparently aren't the same thing.
Well,
if you have EA Access, you have access on your Xbox. If you have Origin Access, you have the same thing, but for PC.
Right.
The two apparently do not. You pay 2 subscriptions if you want it everywhere. So what does Premiere give us? It's basically a bit like Microsoft's Game Pass thing, where EA, if you have the Premiere subscription, apparently new games will turn up on this thing immediately, or at the very least a lot faster than they did before. So it's like if you're paying that bit more, you get guess what people actually want from the service. It's like, hey, this thing's out now you can play it. Don't worry about it. But yeah, so there's that. But more money.
Yeah, and then they even made another classic like EA, like the sense of pride and accomplishment, where he said they came back again and declared it the joy of subscription.
Yeah, I forgot about that. That's good. That's such. Oh man, they really do need to do something about. Was it Andrew? It's Andrew Wilson and.
Well, I'm sure it's not really a problem with him as much as it is like who's writing these press releases and scripts.
I don't know. I think perhaps a good presenter would have seen that and just gone, "I'm not saying that."
I'm sure he doesn't care. He just reads what's on the screen.
Oh, they're so bad. So then we had a chat with. Oh, in fairness to Andrea, who was running the show, who I think used to do the news show for The Escapist. I think she did a pretty good job with the hand she was dealt.
There wasn't much to do.
Exactly. She was all right, but because she then had to fill time interviewing Vince Zampella from Respawn.
They had to fill time, but they didn't really have to do it.
No, true. They could have just not done this, and I think it would have been fine, because it was basically chatting to Respawn about, hey, what are you up to? Not Titanfall 3, as it turns out.
Well, we already knew about the Star Wars thing.
Yeah, we knew the Star Wars thing was happening, and Respawn were working on it, but, Titanfall 3 apparently is, still highly rumoured to be in existence, but we didn't see it. Talking about what the game is, but really not seeing it.
Not really talking about what the game is at all.
Jedi Fallen Order.
They called it that name, and they said it happened between episodes 3 and 4, which is not actually surprising at all.
No.
When you consider Jedi Fallen Order as the name of it.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense. That's the Dark Times.
2019.
Right, because they're like, oh, that's what Obi-Wan says in the first film. He says, before the Dark Times, before the Empire, implying they're the same thing, but apparently they're like, no, the Dark Times were the bit in between.
In the middle. Yeah.
The Dark Times are Order 66.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah, so we don't know anything more than that, really.
Nope. So this was a highly necessary thing to do.
Yep. So then there was the questionable inclusion of Battlefront 2. But
because they wanted to nearly have an apology, almost sort of.
Yeah. I think it was handled well, not perhaps as well as it could have been. They did basically. I feel for that. He's a brave soul, whoever took that job.
Pretty much.
But the guy came out and was basically like, "Hey, yeah, we want to do this and we want to hit the ground running." And it was like, obviously, that's not how it went. He stopped short of apologizing. He stopped short of basically saying, "Hey, we screwed this up." But he did say, "Hey, we're fixing things. We're redoing our progression. We're trying to and we've got all this other stuff coming for free. So please be happy." I think they're trying to make good, which I guess is something. But we still don't really know how long that whole loot box is a bad thing is really going to stick with EA.
And this was, I guess, the first time it really became apparent that EA apparently don't have any footage of any of their games either.
No.
Where they just loop the same bit of footage over and over.
Yeah, that was so weird. It's like they clearly didn't have... They wanted to show some video behind the guy, but, I thought what would have been more sensible was to cut, for once, cut to the wide shot. Seemed like a sensible move, but instead, no, that they just focused on...
They just put the video full screen, but the video was 3 times shorter than the amount of time this guy was talking for.
Yeah,
so you saw the same thing over and over.
So it just looped, and you're like, you could have made more footage.
Especially Battlefront 2, which is a game that's already been out for a year.
And this wasn't the first time it happened either. It's not just this presentation that went bad. But then we got onto a brief spell of uplifting moments. Very briefly.
Well, I mean, basically we got onto a brief spell of not EA.
Not EA, yeah. Not EA as developers, anyway. Unravel 2 got a bit of screen time, which is great. I mean, we knew it was coming, theoretically. I didn't know it was coming, but apparently it had already been announced and talked about for some time. And
it wouldn't have had to be, since it's out now.
Yeah, Shadow Drop. They were just like, hey, it's out now. Go buy it. Got to appreciate a Shadow Drop.
I don't think that really counts as a Shadow Drop.
Well, it's if they haven't had
everyone already knew about it.
Well, I think it counts if you don't know when it's going to release and suddenly someone goes, it's out now.
I don't think it counts as a Shadow Drop when it's quite a small game, because that doesn't have as much dramatic, where it's holy shit, they've actually been working on this a lot.
Drop's a drop. Doesn't matter how big the drop is, it's a drop.
I think it does.
I mean, it does matter how big the drop is, because that's how I live, yo.
Yeah.
Beats first. But yeah, it's all co-op now, and but also co-op in a way that means you don't have to necessarily play it with someone. You can sort of self-co-op by switching characters, and which I guess means none of the puzzles require simultaneous action, really.
Presumably, yeah.
But and it's also couch co-op only. That's been said. There's no online co-op for it, but not a terribly huge deal. I think not a deal breaker. It's got to be said. I do as much as people have said about the first game that the gameplay ended up being somewhat, by the numbers. I guess just not as interesting as it first appears. That game has a real nice look to it, and it's kept that and seems to be a little bit more refined. And giant flapping grouse. Don't mind myself a bit of grass. And then possibly the most interesting title was announced, Sea of Solitude, which appears to be very much along the lines of Rime, was what I took away from it, and that it seems to be a sort of emotional platformer of some description, where the main premise is that if humans get lonely, they turn into monsters.
Apparently, literally everyone already has from what they showed.
So
There's not any non-monster people in that video.
Yeah. I thought it had a good look to it. It's hard to tell what the actual gameplay is from what they showed, but
running and jumping. I mean, that's about all you can tell.
Exactly, but as I say, I got a very strong Rime vibe from it. And first accidental accent issue probably came up at this point as well, where the poor woman was trying to say emotional balance, or no, was it bring your emotions into balance or something? But the way she said balance sounded like bell ends. That was a bit. So we were watching it here last week, and it was just there's a moment of hilarity rippled through us. Unfortunate accents. Madden 19.
No, you missed NBA Live, as you always do.
Oh,
But then it's just like, you might as well miss it because it's just basketball.
I totally did miss it. I did, yeah. Again, nothing really to shout about that. It's the same as they did the previous NBA game, where they're doing that mix of street and regular and shoe shopping.
Yes.
It's that game again.
But no new mechanics or anything.
No,
just like FIFA.
Nothing said really.
They briefly show it and be like, "Yep, we're making a sports game."
Again, but we knew about that coming into it as well. They'd sort of announced that was a thing right before the show as well. That's probably why I haven't written it down.
Yep, probably.
And then we got probably. Okay,
you can't say probably the worst part of this conference because it was all bad, but
yeah, but the Madden thing, man, so this actually makes me angry a little bit because Madden 19. Obviously, they were going to do something, and they tried the same play that they did last year, which was, hey, we're going to talk about the Madden League or the esports stuff and really focus on that, and bring on this young Kiv guy who I guess is the current leader, the current champion or something, with a blingy ass belt.
Yep, he had the Madden belt.
Like why is it a belt? Yeah.
They didn't want a trophy for some reason.
Yeah. They wanted it to be handed around, I guess.
Trophies can be handed.
I guess, yeah. Yeah, so but boy, does this guy seem like a complete he's a terrible role model.
Well, I mean, yes, that was basically there was a couple of other things we'll mention later on that had a similar thing happen, but it's just like he just pretty much. I mean, he says like, "I followed the money."
Yeah,
and that's just the best thing to say when you're already at an EA press conference.
Oh boy, it's just like
talking about how fuck all this other shit I was doing. I need the money.
Yeah, that's funny.
Did you want to go to your graduation or join this tournament? And he's like, "I'll chase that money, dog."
I mean,
no.
Technically, going to your graduation, like. That's not. It's not like.
I guess it's not essentially. He'd already.
Yeah, it's not like skipping school. It's just like he was not going to an event.
Yeah, but
I didn't technically go to my one, so for the equivalent of graduation.
Fine, but it was just the way it was presented. It just sounded like sod school, man.
Yeah, and then follow the money.
Ugh. Why put that in your Why? If that was scripted and that was how it was rehearsed.
Yeah, again, it's like someone wrote the script and then didn't have anyone else read it to realise that it was a bad idea.
If anyone wanted to, I'm pretty sure we all believe EA is the worst at the moment. Like just in general, just like as a company, as an organisation, they're just bad. And they got voted the worst company in the world for a reason, I suppose. But
that was it.
Yeah. But oh boy, then they don't help themselves, man.
Nope. And then, in case you weren't pissed off enough about regular esports, how about mobile game esports? How
about their attempt at hiding what this game was, and then sort of failing over the course? Oh boy, yeah, this is a weird ass thing. Out comes two shoutcast commentators. One of them from Redwood Studios. And to talk about a mobile game, so like at this point you're already going, oh boy, this is gonna suck.
Worst combination.
And then you realise they're playing a strategy game with two random people that are supposedly big in the strategy scene. I don't know what Rick Kippers was saying. One of them is actually a pretty big StarCraft player, something like that. To play what looked like a very simplistic mobile quick strategy game, and then it slowly dawns upon you that. Oh, hey, they said GDI. Oh, they said Mammoth Tank.
Oh, no.
Harvester.
And that looks a lot like Tiberium. Command & Conquer is back, yo. As Command & Conquer Rivals.
I mean, it's basically continuing to follow the EA plan of, like, the mobile game is where things go to really die.
Yeah, this is
like Dungeon Keeper and Command & Conquer, and even SimCity to some extent.
Yeah. Man. In fairness to the game, for what it's trying to do, it kind of looked okay.
Yeah.
It's just that Command & Conquer is attached to it, and they made such a big deal of it, and then had a unfortunate trailer that made the game look pretty great until it transitioned into a mobile game.
Well, and because they'd already shown the game at this point, it was just like, maybe that was better for this specific case that they showed the trailer afterwards, because otherwise you would have started getting hype for Command & Conquer and then been like, oh fuck, it's a mobile game. No. That would have been the worst way around to do that one.
I think at that point you were already, oh no, and actually we're just like, why are we seeing more of it? To be fair, like,
well, yeah, but that's what I mean.
Yeah.
If they showed the trailer first, the hype to non-hype would have been much more abrupt and terrible.
Yeah. One upside: shadow drop. Proper shadow drop by your description. I get like we didn't have any idea this was coming.
Except it's not even really out.
Oh, is it not? I thought it was.
It's an alpha only on Android.
Oh, I misjudged that. My bad. Not a shadow drop. Doesn't count. And then we got like 20 minutes of Anthem chat.
Oh, you forgot that they briefly before that they mentioned the play to give thing still exists.
Oh yeah, I mean, like as much as we rag on EA, that part at least is good. Good on them for doing that. Was it like 1 million or something they said they invested this year?
I feel like that number hasn't gone up though.
No, I don't think
that should be going up year on year, shouldn't it? Really?
Well, 7%. Well, so it should be 1,000,007. Well, that's UK inflation, I suppose. I don't know what. Yes. So then we got 20 minutes of Anthem chat.
Yeah, we got 20 minutes kind of Anthem.
Yeah. So they did have a gameplay sort of thing, sort of a trailer.
Well, what they had was a trailer, 20 minutes of talking, and then a demo that was so ridiculously cut up that you could barely tell what was going on most of the time anyway.
Well, you see, I didn't necessarily mind the cuts because it was clearly like, well, we need to save some time here. There's probably some travel going on.
They don't need to save time. This whole conference has been a big waste of time up to this point.
True. You're right. In this particular context, the cuts were not needed. You could have just shown the entire stretch and not had the chat, and I think I would have been happier.
Yeah.
I mean, Anthem looks fine.
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of dig its style. I kind of dig its.
I think it's kind of interesting that just in general that like Destiny promised a lot, right? And it was from Bungie or whatever. And it's like, we're finally going to do the first person MMO, like combine the wild popularity of like a Halo or Call of Duty with something like a World of Warcraft. How can you fail if you do it right? But it never quite worked out that well, at least not for the first one. Destiny 2 still isn't like fully setting the world on fire because...
If anything, it's setting it less. Like
maybe.
People don't care anymore. Or it feels like it's not as big a deal now.
Even if it's a better game, by all accounts, it's not as big a deal. And yet, people are like EA or whatever, and others, I think, still think, that could still, there's definitely a way to make that work. And maybe there is, I don't know.
I don't think anyone thinks the idea of making an MMO FPS is the bit that can work. They think that they can just make another Destiny where it's like a small team FPS.
Maybe. Yeah, because they're not true MMOs, I guess, in this case.
No.
An Anthem is like you basically get a squad together and hit the world, right?
But why would you want to make another Destiny if Destiny isn't a success? That's the weird part.
Exactly.
Well, I wouldn't say it's.
It's still a success.
Really.
Yeah,
but not on the level that EA would want. Like, I don't think.
I don't know if you've ever been to a show.
Yeah.
And the size of the Destiny booth at EGX, for instance, is enormous.
I mean, I think it was a success. It just didn't live up to the hype of the Halo thing right at the beginning, where everyone was like, "Oh shit, it's the Halo people making an FPS game. It must be awesome." And obviously, it didn't succeed in that much.
It's not Halo,
but it's not like it's a non-successful game.
No,
made a second one.
I think it does make Activision mega bucks. It's it's not.
Okay, fair enough then.
Yeah. I still think it's big, even if critically, I don't think there's as much buzz around it now. But,
that's not so important, is it?
But no, I think it does still.
If it makes megabucks, then it makes sense that EA would want one of those.
Yeah, of course it does. Yeah, but even that aside, like I think the approach they're going on does make sense. Like, I think I like the idea of the whole world being instanced, like, fits with what they're going for in the storyline more than, like, even in Destiny's case, I think it perhaps would have fit what they were going for a little more, to have, like, more instanced stuff there. I mean, they have a lot of instant stuff.
Yeah.
But, like, you wouldn't have, like, 50 billion players just casually running around the world. You're supposed to be the last Guardians,
right? They don't
have
50 billion players running around the world, do they? They have the occasional world event where it pulls in like 12 people.
I thought like even if you were like just traversing the world like outside of a mission or anything like that, you'd still pull in quite a large number of players.
About a large number. It's a relatively small number.
Okay. I don't really know in fairness, but I don't know. I like the idea of the travel. I like the world. I like the look. I like the sound. the interesting voiceover sort of caught my attention because for a brief moment I thought it was gamer chat, but it's not. They just picked an interesting sort of.
Well, they just picked a regular person.
Yeah, like talks a lot like Jarvis from Iron Man, I guess, and like. Which makes sense, given that they're going for a bit of an Iron Man thing with the suits, right? And it's.
I mean, a couple of people I saw did kind of mistake that for that being Anthem's version of the Ghost, but it's not. It's just a person somewhere on a radio.
Yeah, it's a dude in the town, yeah, and being your support. And who was the lady that was talking? That wasn't really made clear either. I assume another person.
Well, in the talking part, they did briefly mention there's these 3 characters. You see one of them, the tattooed dude. There's the guy on the radio and the woman. They did mention all 3 of those names. It's just like they didn't explain that any other way. It's just like, they're just these 3 guys who you're traveling with, I guess.
Was tattooed dude the guy? He looked Mexican.
Yeah,
and I was kind of hoping it would be played by World's Happiest Mexican.
Yes,
but then he spoke and he was just like generic American voice, and it's like, oh, that really does avoid thing. Yeah, so they talked a bit about how the story would play out, right? And that the story doesn't play out in the world was what they were trying to get at, but that you come back to the city and that's where you get most of your narrative stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like, I guess that makes sense in the multiplayer context, right? They don't want to have too much interrupting players that might have already seen stuff and are in your crew. So the missions, I guess, play out mostly seamlessly, and then when you get home, drama happens. Don't know. I mean... Yeah, maybe that makes sense. Maybe that works.
It still doesn't really solve the problem of how the missions. I mean, presumably the open world is still even separate from the mission areas, I would guess. Because if you had a team of 4 people who had got the different points in the story and then came together into one group, you couldn't have anything be different in the world.
No, I think they'd all have to have agreed we're doing this mission.
Yeah.
Like, someone would have to have lived... It must be a party leader thing, right?
Yeah,
where someone's
presumably.
like, we're doing this, and it triggers the events needed to.
So even if the world can theoretically change, it will change to be the world of one of the players.
Yeah.
Presumably.
I mean, in some respects, it does feel like, oh, that's fine, I'll just play this solo, but they're pushing that co-op aspect so heavily.
Well, I mean, I don't know about... It's the same as any of those kind of games.
Yeah.
It's like, it's theoretically possible to do solo, but surely you have some friends.
Surely.
At least one.
I don't know, I remain somewhat positive on it.
Yeah.
But I will say, like, the one thing that I have a real problem with are those giant effing yellow numbers that popped up when you shot things, because they were big.
Yeah.
And right where you were shooting. Like, and didn't move out of the way particularly quickly. So it's just like, I'm having this big moment, I'm causing a nice situation, combo everywhere. Like, oh, no. Ruined it.
You need to see the numbers.
Just make them
that big.
Yeah, or stylize them so they get out of the way faster, or... Yeah, even then, I might like to just turn off the numbers and have some sort of damage sound, or like, I don't know.
You kind of forgot what Guild Wars looked like.
I don't. MMOs just do that. I don't.
Yeah, that's an MMO thing.
And Destiny does it as well. But Destiny numbers like ping out, right? I think like they don't hang about. They just sort of like they're like when they're gone.
Maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. Giant. I just remember a massive yellow 600. And it's like, yeah. Anyway, minor bugbear, I suppose. In what does look like could be a pretty awesome game. And a release date. I gave it a date.
Kind of.
February 22nd in 2019.
Whoa, soon. Ish.
You know, like 9 months away.
Yeah.
Yeah, so other than Battlefield and FIFA, and the shadow drop of, well, the not shadow drop of Unravel 2, everything out next year. Sports games are all out. Sports games are all out, but anything else, you're waiting until next year.
Yeah. At least.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
In some cases.
They did say the Jedi game was supposedly next year. Supposedly.
Wouldn't bet on it, though.
Well, given that we haven't seen it,
Yeah.
seems unlikely. Given that EA
like December.
Given that EA like to show stuff super early, far earlier than they need to.
But Respawn tend to do games with slightly less content, let's say.
Well, yeah, you could say that.
Maybe they could do it a bit quicker.
Yeah. I wonder what it's going to be like as in, because Respawn only really have a heritage for first-person games.
That's true.
Like not the Titanfall and the Call of Duties that came before it. It's like that's all they've done. I mean, there's always room for a team to do something else for sure. But
I mean, you can just quite easily just imagine the Titanfall movement but ported to a Jedi. It's basically the same thing.
If they go third person,
and rapid zoom jumping, except without a grapple, you're just using the Force.
Yeah, and maybe make it. It's got to be a third person game, right?
Yeah, like Jedi Outcast 2 or whatever.
Yeah,
Jedi Knight 2, right?
First person.
Yeah.
Everyone has a lot of affection for the multiplayer of Jedi Knight 2 for some reason.
Yeah, I didn't touch that game for very long because I didn't really like it even at the time.
No,
but yeah, it is. I suppose it was it's post Quake, wasn't it? But pre Quake 2, I guess, sort of in that. Or was it even? That might have been.
No, that would be the first
actually.
one, wouldn't it? Yeah.
So maybe there was still room for it to be not what we would call modern shooter-esque, but maybe
it's definitely not very
close
modern.
to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's quite unique with its lightsaber stuff and the different weird stances and stuff. But of course, you move insanely fast, like Quake, so it's really weird.
Yeah. Alrighty, that was EA. That was the car crash of terrible.
Hopefully, ruined everyone's E3 right from the beginning.
Ugh.
Made everyone nicely pissed off to go into the next set.
Yeah, that did not raise my hype. It was just like just so. I mean, I know I shouldn't expect better from EA.
It's more like don't care. Anthem looks quite good, or okay.
Yeah, I just want them to be better. It's not like EA haven't made some good stuff in the past.
So they keep ruining all their franchises.
Yeah, one EA is just garbage. It was a bad show as well. It's just like at least make it interesting for us to watch. Right, let's go on to a damn fine show. The Microsoft show.
There's still some points where it was a bit weird, like this first thing immediately.
I mean, it's always a little bit weird, but Microsoft, I think as far as press conferences go and what people want to see, they nail this format. It's about as good as it can get. I don't remember seeing anyone do it better, other than maybe some of the Ninty Directs have been pretty great, in the past. But for
the crazy ones are when they launch a console, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, this is pretty good as a mid.
I mean, yeah. So they know what they have to do. Is the interesting thing with Microsoft. They always seem quite self-aware. So Phil Spencer comes up on stage and he's like, "Guys, we got games."
Everyone always says that, and sometimes it turns out like this, and sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah, but I guess last year they had to talk about Xbox One X, so it's like they were doing that more than. But it feels like, and to the point where they had to list hey, we're showing 50 games, and 15 of these are exclusives.
I know, but they always list the numbers right at the start.
Well, I don't think they explicitly normally say how many exclusives they've got.
I'm pretty sure they do.
Oh, okay. Maybe, all right, fine.
Maybe because they have to. That was why last year it was a big thing where they were saying how many exclusives they had, because it's like, Jesus Christ, they actually have some now.
Well, and I think this year they really did need to say that to be but by the way, guys, we've still got exclusives. Don't forget that. We forget that. So let's launch with a couple of them. Cut to lots of. I think it started with the words engine demo or something appeared on screen very briefly. And,
engine demonstration, yeah.
Yeah, and then we see lots of nature footage, and it's like, okay, what's going on here? Why are we seeing rhinos? Why are we seeing nice forests?
Not rhinos.
Rhinos with two horns.
Not bears.
And but not quite. Very close, but not quite. what's with these military fools and this circle imagery placed about the? Oh, it's got to be Halo. It's got to be Halo. Oh, I'm getting hyped. Oh my gosh! Oh, this music. Oh, the music is swelling. Oh, this is real great.
It's the music stolen from the Halo 3 E3 trailer.
Yep. Those lovely stings. Oh, but it's not Halo 6.
No. And it's not Halo anything. It's just like, we're done. And then they just leave.
And then they really don't talk about it. Like,
they don't talk about it ever again.
No.
Halo is it Infinity or Infinite?
Infinite, I think. Yeah. Get hype.
Yeah, I mean,
maybe get hype.
I'm hyped, but then they
could just be another Halo Wars for all we know from that trailer.
No, come on.
No, it's
not. It's not, but it could be a not like Halo as Halo game. It could be a completely weird spin-off. It could be Halo Jurassic Park for all we know.
I suppose you're right. I thought this was. Yeah, you're right, and that they didn't say it was specifically. Yeah, they didn't say.
Well, I think
put this down in my head is like this is Halo 6. They've just not called it Halo 6. But
the trouble with that theory is that. Well, A, it's on a Halo, which is slightly weird, I guess. And B, they show Master Chief, presumably, or another Spartan 2, putting a chip in his helmet. Yeah. And that doesn't make sense from where Halo 6 is now, so with AIs and all that bullshit.
The one thing Phil did say immediately afterwards was, this is the next adventure for Master Chief. And it's like...
What does that mean?
Yeah, you haven't finished the last one.
No.
What is this? What's going in his head? Has he got a new AI friend?
Because people didn't like the last one.
Has Halsey just made a new Cortana? Because she could, I guess.
And I wouldn't have known anyway, and I probably didn't look at it hard enough. But like, what version of the armor is that? Is it the most up to date version, or is it?
It looks like Halo 3 armor, to be honest.
Yeah, so people have looked at it, and then like supposedly it's actually like new, in that there are subtle differences here and there that people seem to think, oh, maybe this is a new Mark armor.
But differences doesn't necessarily mean upgrade, and it could mean it's an older one.
Maybe, yeah. Prior to Mark 4 or whatever, like a Mark 3 kit or something.
Yeah, because that would make more sense than with the AI chips being back and everything. It's like, this could be some kind of weird prequel or something, or a side story.
I'd be on board with it being a prequel. That would be interesting. But then
with a Halo, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, exactly. Where does the Halo come in?
Because Reach was fairly early on, supposedly, in the story. Although, why would Master Chief be asleep? Master Chief must have done some fighting, right, prior to Reach.
Yeah. But no one knew what a Halo was until they warped into one, right? In the first game.
So yeah, you're right.
Why does this Halo have wildlife on it?
And there's nowhere in the story for Master Chief to have gone and done something else. There's no break in Halo.
No, I guess because you get like dates and times on those games.
Well, actually, that's not strictly true. There might be a gap between 1 and 2 because 2 starts with you celebrating, right? But it's but it might not have been there very long.
I guess.
But it might have just been like Johnson finally got back somehow.
Yeah, they do kind of infer that it can't have been that long because Johnson turns up and he's like, how do you get back? Oh,
I'm badass.
Yeah. I just did it somehow. But it can't take it that long, otherwise he would have been in much worse shape than that.
Yeah. What happens between 2 and 3? 2 and 3, there's no gap.
You're just in the shape.
It's finished the fight, so there's no gap there. 3 to 4, maybe?
Yeah, but that's when you're floating in space, right?
Yeah, that's the deep sleep section.
Yeah, deep sleep and you get woken up. Yeah, of course.
So there's no real gap for it, but I'm sure they'll think of something. But I think
there is a gap at the end of 4. There is a gap at the end of 4.
So I'm wondering if this is because it looked, especially from that tracking shot of the warthog in the end, and like the size of some of the stuff, it looked a bit open worldy, not fully, and so I think this is their destiny, right? Because that makes sense. Everyone wants.
Then why lean on the Master Chief angle?
Because people remember Master Chief, and because it's very reminiscent of the first Halo. In fact, with the wildlife and the open world, it looks like the 2000 demo of Halo.
Yeah,
which makes me super hyped because I always wanted to play that game, and it never materialized.
I know what you mean. Yeah. Either way, this is fascinating, and I'm like, yeah, boy, tell us more. No, not happening.
And also, tell us more about Halo 6
if this isn't Halo 6. Well, yeah,
I have seen speculation from like Digital Foundry that like this might be like a cross-gen game, as in this will launch on this gen and the next gen. It's that far away.
Just be like Destiny again.
Well. This is spoilers jumping ahead a little bit, given that Microsoft did say they are already deep in R&D on whatever the next console is, whether that's like an X2 or whether a literal like new platform. Who knows? Yeah,
they're basically saying that like what's shown in that game engine demonstration is going to really struggle on the base Xbox One. Like, will probably not really run very well at all. So
I don't know. There's plenty of settings they could tone back. Sure.
Yeah, probably. That demo will have been running on an X, I would have thought, or like
I think most stuff, first party stuff at least, that Microsoft is going to be showing, they're going to be showing X stuff now.
But yeah, and of course it will run on PC, right?
Well, that's the beautiful part of this. Yeah,
I think they even said
from our
yes,
perspective,
definitely.
Who cares what Xbox it runs on? It's a first party title.
Yeah,
so it has to run on PC by their new mandate.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm pretty excited about that. To be honest, I wouldn't have cared if they'd shown Halo 6 and it was like,
what if it does end up being co-op and stuff and like.
I think it will.
Yeah. Oh, can you imagine us forming a Halo Fire team?
Yeah, killer.
So how are they going to fit that in with the story? Because
it's not the story.
They had when Arbiter suddenly turned up. That was how they managed that. What?
Maybe it's like an alternate universe Halo 1. I don't know. That would make sense.
I mean,
I'd be okay
seems
with that.
to be like the only way this is going to work at this point.
Yeah. This is like a big training program.
Or that.
It's not the
first
first time.
It's actually on the Infinity. That's why it's called Infinite.
Yeah.
Because it's just a hologram.
So this is why I asked the question, is it Infinite or is it Infinity? Because it's just like, they've used Infinity before.
Yeah, they have, yeah. Because Bungie made cool ship names like Pillar of Autumn and in Amberclad, and then 343 made shit ones.
Infinity, yeah. I can't remember the other ships. There are a few, but they're all like one syllable or one word names. That's a bit dull.
No, make them cool like the old ones.
Yeah.
The hell does Pillar of Autumn mean?
I think there might have been a couple
of. It's awesome.
Yeah, I think there might have been a couple of like simple ones, like that Bungie had defined in their lore, or the books had defined in the lore, like pre 343.
What are the cool ones? Pillar of Autumn in Amberclad.
In Amberclad,
what's the other one?
I care about.
There's another frigate, isn't there? In Halo 2.
Yeah, there is another one. I can't remember. Isn't in Amberclad in 2, and it's like Pillar of Autumn throughout 1, and then
I can't remember. Anyway, I'm trying to remember.
No.
Forward Unto Dawn. That's it.
Oh yeah, because the spin-off series. That was what I was trying to think of. Because the spin-off series was the name of a ship, and that was called Forward Unto Dawn.
That's a good name as well. 3 good names, and then of course the Covenant ships had good names. What was it in the first game? Truth and Reconciliation.
Was that actually a ship? Or was that referring to the?
That was the ship, the cruiser.
Oh yeah.
The Covenant cruiser that was like hovering above the Halo.
Oh yes, the one you board. Yeah.
Yeah.
High charity. I only ever think of that. That's a bit. Yeah. Anyway, Halo's a cool universe. I want to know what this is. Moving on. So hyped for Ori right now.
Yes.
Ori and the Will of the Wisps. This game looks amazing, and apparently it's all like done in 4K now. Like, so all the art assets are even better than they were before. And it's and then they showed off all the new abilities, like proper fighting, fights with a bow staff, like an electric sort of bow staff thing. It looks cool. There's a drill power up. There's a drill. Drill. Some sort of lightning stomp. He seems to have lost his sparky buddy, so maybe he doesn't attack that way anymore. It just looks so nice. I love that music, and you've got that weird bug, well, the owl, the weird owl to look after, or the mini evil bird. And but what was that thing at the end? That's what everyone like. I've seen some confusion about what the thing at the end of the trailer was. Like, is that something in a mech suit? Was what some people said, and I'm like, no, it's probably just a large, ugly bird thing again.
I mean, we're talking about theoretical ecological stories. It could well be some kind of robot, because that's the natural enemy of nature.
I guess. Yeah.
Standard procedure for that kind of story.
Yeah, the humans have turned up or something. Yeah, super hype. obviously we'll get a PC version, which is great. Sad news is not this year. I really thought it was going to be a 2018 release, but no, they just slapped a 2019 on it. So yeah, moving on. People From Software fans lost their minds because it's like, hey, there's a brand new IP coming from, and it explains that teaser we saw at PSX or something last year, or whenever that was. Anyway, Sekiro: Shadows Die Twice.
They died twice.
Yeah, apparently. So there's all kinds of.
They died at all.
We don't really know a great deal about what that means, but there's a lot of theories going around that it's like, okay, imagine if they took Bloodborne, made it a bit more swordy and samurai-y, and made it so perhaps there's a second death mechanic that means you could confuse enemies by dying. Like, so you die, and then because you resurrect and the other things don't think you're alive, you can then surprise them.
Almost had that in Dark Souls already, pretty much.
You don't res on the spot, do you?
Well, no, but you had two different versions of death. So,
I suppose,
I mean, they've already kind of used that idea, sort of, but not in exactly the same way.
So the immediate comparison is obviously Neo from Team Ninja sort of did this look and feel and combat style before last year. And this is a lot of that. But I have to say that combat looked cool. Like, just there seemed to be like a flexibility to it, a certain. I don't know that I haven't really liked the look of any of From Software games up to this point. Bloodborne might have been the one that got closest to me, and it's like, I thought, I might actually play that.
I wouldn't bet on it being that much better than Bloodborne. In terms of the style of game it is.
No, probably not. It's probably incredibly similar. But
people really like the way those Dark Souls games look, and I don't really get it looks so grimy. I get the architecture and stuff. After a while, you start thinking.
It made more sense in Dark Souls, I think, because it was a medieval, grimy
ass world. Yeah, it does work with the atmosphere, but it doesn't look attractive. I wouldn't say.
No. I guess I'm talking more about the look of how the movement and stuff all functions in those games is all very similar as well. There's a certain way things move in From Software games. Even in Bloodborne, that's a lot faster. There's a certain familiarity to it that's very much their signature. And this did feel like it was perhaps breaking away from that a bit more. It's Bloodborne was faster. This looks a lot faster. And does that mean significant differences in how it controls or any of that stuff? It's this might be the most interested I've been in a From Software game. And it's sort of a little bit interesting that it's at Microsoft after they got the Bloodborne shun, thanks to Sony. I don't think it came out and explicitly said it's a console exclusive, but
maybe they realised that people play it on PC.
Yeah,
mostly.
Yeah. So there's that. Then we had the Game Pass update, which I was perhaps hoping for a lot more than what they said here, because it's like, hey, Game Pass has been successful. They said that. And what I was gunning for is okay, now we're going to work with some more third parties and bring more stuff to the service quicker, and we're going to just expand the number of games that are on here, yada, yada, yada. Didn't really go that far. They just sort of said, hey, we're adding some old games to the service, which is what they've been doing anyway. So you want to play some Fallout 4? It's now on Game Pass. Do you want to play some Division 1? You're in luck. There was, I guess, the sort of slightly interesting thing is hey, do you want to play some Elder Scrolls Online? We've put that on the service as well, but not the expansion, just the base version. And it's interesting to me because maybe I don't know how Elder Scrolls work. Is it a subscription-based game, or is it a...
I don't think so.
Oh, in which case that's not that interesting.
It's like Guild Wars.
Right. If it was a subscription-based game, and they put a subscription-based game on Game Pass, it's that's kind of fascinating. But okay, if it's not that, then don't care. It's not all that interesting. It's just
not entirely certain. Although the only thing I know is that you do have to buy into Elder Scrolls. There is box or whatever. You have to pay at the start.
Right.
But I don't know 100% for sure that it's not a subscription.
Right. So it is more like the Guild Wars model. Then.
Yes, that's why I'm assuming.
Right. All right. Yeah, I was kind of hoping they'd just do more with it, like with Game Pass, and be all like, hey, like here's what's coming to Game Pass coming out, like.
Well, they did that. It's those free things.
Yeah, but like do it with some new games. It's like, I don't know. The only one I can think of in recent memory, was, other than their own stuff, was Laser League. Right? They brought Laser League to Game Pass day one, and I thought that's a really smart move. Bring more games like that. Maybe slightly smaller titles that aren't AAA and aren't going to agree to this. If you can bring some other sort of like mid-tier heavy hitters or mid-tier interesting games, then this makes this service even more compelling than it has been at the moment, and but they're not quite there yet. Not quite.
They're still really just in the ramp up phase of Game Pass.
Yeah.
It hasn't been sufficiently proven to all the other companies yet, I guess.
No, I think people are still. I think the bigger publishers are still a little bit like, what do we get out of this? Do we actually gain from this, or do we lose from this? And I think that is a big question mark. I think even for Microsoft, that's a big question mark. Because they probably lost money from me, but then I probably wouldn't have played the games I've played if I didn't have Game Pass. Do you see what I mean? Like, so does that make it a net positive? It's like weird questions like that always go with these things. So let's get Todd Howard out for an early look at Fallout 76 before Bethesda did their thing.
Yeah, kind of unnecessary, but
yeah, a little unnecessary. They just wanted to show a longer trailer and have Todd come out. So he dropped a couple of details
they
here.
Showed the same trailer again at Bethesda, which was annoying.
Yeah, they did. It might have been a slightly longer version at Bethesda, but yeah.
But they showed more of after the trailer at Bethesda as well.
Yeah, it just come out. So it is a long trailer. The one bit of info he dropped early was that it's going to be 4 times larger than Fallout 4, whatever that means at this point.
I don't think that. I'm starting to feel like that kind of information doesn't even count as information any longer, because like all the open world games are like, it's even bigger. It's 40 kilometers. Whatever numbers.
Yeah, we added more space to our space.
Yes, that doesn't really mean anything.
Is that stuff really all that important? I'd much rather have more stuff in the space, I suppose, and make the stuff more interesting than just have more stuff in space.
It does depend.
Space stuff.
I mean, it'd be mostly mountains if it's that landscape, right?
Yeah, Virginia.
West Virginia.
I just thought, we probably talk about it more in the Bethesda thing, but my main thought about it was like, why does everything not look bombed? It's nice for it not to all be completely brown.
How long?
Those nukes didn't go off that far away from that dude who was standing on that hill, and yet all these plants totally survived.
How long is it after the bombs that the vault opens?
Yeah, especially because this is one of the early ones, basically.
In Fallout, a plant's not around because in Chernobyl it's totally fine. In fact, there's loads of plants everywhere.
There are places in Fallout 4 which are relatively plant.
Don't you start in a nice-ish area?
Ish, yes, yeah. Slightly less. Because in the Fallout 4 map, there was really only 2 bombs, I guess, within the confines of the map. There was the one that hit the city, and then there's the radiation sea off on the side of the map where it's much more irradiated. So technically, there was only really 2 bombs inside the confines of that map. So
because isn't the main city built in one of the craters?
No, that's you're thinking of Megaton in Fallout 3.
Ah, right.
And that bomb didn't even go off.
Ah, right.
But yeah, in Fallout 4, and also I think in the story of Fallout 4, because it's the fake MIT or whatever that's in Fallout 4, they supposedly had some amount of shielding technology around that area that slightly reduced the amount of damage that whole region took in general during the war. Okay. Supposedly.
All right, lore.
Yeah. And I can imagine that a mountainous area in West Virginia, maybe that's not so much of a target for all the nukes during the battle.
I guess.
Maybe they just probably got less damage in general.
Yeah. It does look nice. It seems like...
It does look kind of exactly like how the Fallout 4 engine would look if you put slightly more plants in it.
Right, okay.
That's also the other thing that I was slightly worried about. That still looks like that's probably that same engine.
Okay.
If they launch Elder Scrolls 6 with that engine, everyone's going to flip.
Spoiler alert, Elder Scrolls 6.
Yes, we'll talk about this again.
Well, there's nothing to talk about there.
Spoiler. What a surprise. They're making another one.
Awesome Adventures of Captain Spirit. All right, that's a big silence.
Yep.
Gnome was what was sat there next to me while we were watching this part of the show, and she basically didn't like. Oh, this doesn't look all that good.
It looks exactly like the game.
It looks like it looks like a Don't Nod game, right? It looks like sure enough, it's in the Life is Strange universe somehow.
It's a prequel to the next game.
Yeah, like it leads into Life is Strange 2 is the idea somehow again, but. At the very least, it's 100% free, which is like okay, how big is this thing?
Well, it's not going to be big.
No, it's not going to be big.
It's going to be one episode of a Telltale game.
I mean, I might play it just because.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, but it's. I've seen more people latch on to the sort of like the kidliness of it than perhaps Gnome did, but it doesn't look bad. It's classically. Like Life is Strange and whatever that prequel one was called, Before the Storm, doesn't look badly made. It's just it doesn't show us like what the actual game is. In this
Presumably, it's quite similar. Yeah. I would imagine.
Yeah.
But the question will be whether it will have any specific mechanic like the time reversal thing in the first one.
I think it might finish on something supernatural. Like it won't be until the very end, and something odd will happen. Which is a bit how like the first episode of the first Life is Strange went.
Kind of.
And obviously, Before the Storm didn't have any of that.
No. That was just more like an adventure game, I guess.
Yeah.
Kind of.
All right. How much Terry Crews do you like in your life?
About that much.
I like quite a lot of Terry Crews.
Probably about sufficient Terry Crews in this one instance.
Crackdown 3.
It's still not coming out this year.
Still not coming out, yeah. Which is, again, another one of those bullet points that makes Game Pass look slightly less good this year. Because it's like, hey, Crackdown 3 was supposed to be coming out. You're not getting that anymore. Not until February, at least. February 2019. How do we feel about Crackdown 3 now? Like, after they've actually made it look like Crackdown 1, just with perhaps some new vehicle stuff?
I don't think it ever didn't look like a Crackdown game. Because I didn't play any of the Crackdown games, so it's just like, yeah, that still looks pretty much like how I imagine a Crackdown game looked, only modern.
Yeah. I mean, it looks almost... to me, it just looks like what Crackdown 1 was now. Like they've leaning into that, which might be what people want, because apparently Crackdown 2 wasn't all that good. Right. I don't really know what they changed.
They reused the same map, right?
Yeah, something like that, and took some stuff away and changed how things work, and in a way that was less fun. I think was what its primary problems were. But the whole. It looked like that you have car air control now, so you could, like Rocket League, so you could flip your car onto the side of a building and then drive it up the building, and it's like, okay, that's cool. And like you could just transform as you're driving around, which is kind of neat. Like, so it solves the old problem of like, do I really want to call in a tank right now and wait for it and then have it drop in the battlefield and so, which admittedly we're quite short thanks to Sanctuary 3, those sorts of actions. But still, it's like you don't have to worry about having multiple vehicles because you've got them all at once.
Or at least 2.
Yeah, or at least 2. Yeah. It looks like Crackdown. I don't really know what more to say. Some people like sort of stepped in and said, where's all the mass destruction stuff that you showed originally? Where's the city falling apart? Yeah. So and like some of the theories are it's like that stuff is still in multiplayer, or potentially that stuff just didn't work, which is why the game is like so far behind schedule that they've had to pull it out.
Yeah.
And why we're not seeing it now. So there, Crackdown. Moving on. Unless you had something there.
Terry Crews. That's the main thing.
Yeah, Terry Crews. That's the big takeaway. It might
as long as you can play as Terry Crews, everything's fine.
Yeah. Maybe for slightly less of the boom boom shakalaka. But
it just needs to be like Saints Row and have him as one of the voice options. So you can choose whether to have constant Terry Crews or not.
Why would you not have Terry Crews? I suppose it depends what the other voices are. Yeah, if they're also equally cool.
If you can be a zombie for no apparent reason.
Well, that was so funny. Nier Automata is getting an Xbox release, like the awesomely named Become as Gods edition, with all the DLC thrown in. Which, admittedly, there was like one pack, I think. So, not all the DLC isn't really much of a claim, but cool that's coming. Good for them for allowing Microsoft to have it. Then we got what I thought was quite a well done trailer for Metro Exodus. And necessarily care for that universe. Like the two previous Metro games, something about them just doesn't really appeal to me. It's like on paper they should, like, you know, the post-apocalyptic Russians, like in radiation zones, but a well-crafted shooter.
Why is that something you like? You haven't even played Fallout.
I haven't played Fallout, but because it's a shooter, and it's like, I guess because it's like got that Eastern European edge, it's like maybe that's a bit more alien to me, I suppose, and perhaps would be a bit more interesting to play. But then there's that sort of bullets are currency mechanic that's always sounded kind of interesting. That I don't even know if they kept the last couple of games. I don't
think they did.
I mean, it looks real nice. It's definitely a looker, and you know, I probably won't have that massive attack song in the actual game, which is a shame because it worked really well in this trailer. But maybe the fact that I'm having to pause now is the problem. But it's like, is there really that much to say? Like,
I don't think there is.
It looked pretty cool. It looked a bit stalkery, but I guess it is.
Yeah.
It is a bit. I guess that universe has some stuff in common. Russia, post-apocalypse,
big monsters.
Yeah,
mutant things being lifted into the sky.
Things. Yeah.
It's probably just a sequence, you know. It's probably just not how most things fight you. All right, let's move on. Microsoft are proud to have some sort of announcement regarding Kingdom Hearts 3, which I might just straight up say now, for the most screen time award, probably has to go to...
Oh my god, how many Kingdom Hearts 3 trailers do we get? Every conference.
This and Sony and Square.
And Square, yeah. There was a lot of Kingdom Hearts going on.
And it was virtually the same every time, except slightly different trailers.
Yeah.
But it was like, Frozen is in it every time.
Every time.
No.
And in fairness, I thought what they showed of the Frozen section actually seemed like the weakest part. Like Olaf, I hate Olaf. He's like awful. Like he's just like, and like that bit of voice acting from Olaf sounded bad. In fact, most of the voice acting sounded kind of bad.
The Johnny Depp one was hilariously quite good.
Yeah, Johnny Depp was okay.
Oh yeah, no, that bit was, which we only got to see at the very end of Sony, which is like, I actually bought the Pirates of the Caribbean stuff. Actually, looked genuinely pretty great, like more so probably than the rest of it. I don't know.
I mean, the whole thing's dumb. So
the whole thing's mental.
And to see this trailer like 3 separate times, you have to say, why did they cut it so that it has no sound effects and only the voices?
Strange.
It's like, what? It was like, is this a callback to that movie, the Tom Cruise movie where they fucked up the trailer and then it didn't have anything apart from
the
yeah, that was funny.
The mummy thing, yeah.
Yeah, the mummy.
No, it's they're intentionally trying to make a big deal of that theme tune because apparently they've done this before.
Sure.
But it does make a weird trailer. I don't like it. Give me more audio than just Hercules going ugh at one point, like drama happening, and you got this terrible music and ugh. Yeah, I don't know. I know nothing about that game other than it looks insane. But I don't know.
It's
if
a massive deal in Japan for some reason.
Yeah, it's quite a big deal over here as well. But like, I don't know if I would like it. Is the thing, because like the actual non-Disney stuff looks kind of awful, right? Like I can buy into the Disney stuff, I can't really buy into the Square angle. It just seems like bad Square.
It just seems like, is this even a JRPG anymore, or some kind of like weird action game? Don't really understand.
Well, that's also the direction Square. Well, Kingdom Hearts has always been more actiony than turn-basedy, you know. But now it looks even more like Square's, you know, current direction. Like, we don't want to do that anymore. Everything has to be action.
Apart from Bravely Default.
And Octopath.
Yeah.
And anything... what was it called? Is it just called Japanese RPG Factory or something? Something like that. They've got a team that does, like, I Am Setsuna and things like that are intentionally making old school RPGs. Yeah, their main games, like, none of that now. I don't know. It's weird. I at least the one good takeaway I think from Kingdom Hearts from the show is they are releasing like a combo pack that's going to have everything in it. Like,
so you can have all the extremely dumbly named games that you want.
Like 1.5, like what is it? Includes 1.5 remix, 2.5, and 2.8. The weird prologue to 3, and all of them are collections in some form as well.
Yeah.
So it's what a mess. What a mess that series is. Do you want to talk about Sea of Thieves?
What is there to talk about? It's expansions, basically.
Expansions, yeah. They didn't specifically say whether it was like free or not, but I assume it's free.
Yeah, you would assume so.
It also looks like the Forsaken Shores thing might have a little bit more story content, maybe like actually play out a bit like a story. They've also sort of hinted at, and I don't think they said this at the show, but like there's like the general idea seems to be like the bar you start in, or like the taverns in the world, will slowly, like as they add expansions, that's represented by people filling the bar. So eventually that bar will be full of things. Like is what their plan is.
For people who give you quests.
Yeah. So maybe like the trailer also hints at like, okay, maybe this is like the some of the quality of the presentation is going to go up. Maybe we're going to get some proper voice acting. Maybe we're going to get some.
I mean, I thought so.
Or was it just the trailer?
Yeah.
So the Forsaken Shores was going to it's going to have a whole new area. There's going to be new places to explore. There's going to be AI skeleton ships now to have combat against rather than just humans. They're also adding some new stuff to the game, one of which is like a long distance voice horn thing, so you can apparently shout at other crews in game over longer distances. Like, if you see a boat on the horizon, you can shout at it, and apparently that will come over voice chat if you're using the game's voice system. I hope it's like properly echoed and stuff. It'll be like, hello. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's good to see that they're adding stuff. There's a giant shark at some point, something like that. Like,
I think that's already in.
Okay, is that one of the patches that's already been released? I mean, it's good to see they're adding to it, but like the phrase I keep hearing again and again and again is like, if I come back to this in 12 months' time, this might be an okay time.
Yeah.
Then we get that Battlefield 5 trailer we talked about earlier. Nordley's not the story.
Yep.
Nordley. Right. Then we get to the thing we probably need to talk about.
Somewhat.
Yeah.
Yes.
The Microsoft Studio shopping spree.
Wait, what? You've totally skipped over the thing that you actually should have talked about.
Or whatever skipped.
Forza Horizon 4.
Yeah.
I thought that came after.
No, it did not.
Okay, I've got the order wrong then. I thought I'd got the order somewhere wrong here, but yeah. Forza Horizon 4, no surprises there. It's
no surprises it's a game, but I mean, the stuff that they're putting in that's slightly interesting.
It does look mildly interesting. So the one thing that sort of hooked me immediately was like, okay, the UK is a pretty cool location choice.
Very
it
cool.
looks mostly like the UK.
It'll be
a hyper.
It'll be entertaining for us to look at it and be like, how is this different from how it actually is?
I mean, in
fairness, sometimes you get those games where it's just like, you know, you drive across the whole of America except it's like 2 miles apart.
Yeah.
It's just like, that's going to be what the UK is like, and we'll be able to tell.
Oh, absolutely.
We actually live here.
Yeah, because the Australia thing was like that as well. It's like hyper.
Yeah, well, they're all like that. Yeah.
And it's also, but the thing with this one is it looks like slightly, well, it's clearly hyper beautified to be like the rural side of UK as well.
They haven't really shown
Mostly.
any city stuff there.
No,
there was a shot. Everyone says
will
that,
be.
but there was a shot of Edinburgh. What was clearly Edinburgh, like Princess Street, like central. So I was like, hang on a minute, are they going to do? Am I going to get like a little mini Project Gotham in there? Because that would be awesome.
That would be cool.
Not like the Horizons haven't already had cities before.
No, but they've always been. The cities actually have always been kind of naff in Horizon. Like,
Yes.
like they've never actually been that interesting. Like Horizon 3 especially, Surfer's Paradise is probably the worst place in the game to drive around. So I don't know. Maybe Edinburgh is a good call if they use that because it's not grid based.
But nothing else in the game is like an actual place, really. So
No,
maybe
not that we've seen anyway. And lots of listed stone wall destruction.
You say that actually, but the bit of with Princess Street, it actually is grid based.
I guess
city,
They showed,
the new
that
town.
famous viaduct, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I guess
that's true. Yeah, there's a lot of it inspired by things.
There was some accurate road signage.
Yes.
And some nice looking the British style cars like I don't know, Austin Healey and Jaguar E-Type, stuff like that.
Good God, is that a good looking game though?
It looks awesome.
I mean, it's fair to say that about every Forza game, but there's this one in particular. I don't know quite how to describe it, but there's something about the fidelity. Just when they zoomed right up close to the cars, there's something extra this time around, and maybe that's just like because they know they can work with the X a bit more.
Apparently, the X is going to have a 60 frames mode.
60 frames per second mode, yeah, which makes it. But the way they said it's got a mode makes me think it's like, okay, is this a resolution versus performance thing, or is this like a detail versus
probably a detail thing or something? Yeah, it's a bit like There's different modes on PS4 Pro games as well. I mean,
it was nice for them to say that, but it's like if you were playing it on PC, you had that anyway.
Yeah, you got everything.
Like, Forza Horizon 3 threw that in as well.
Although it was a bit of a bitch to run, though, wasn't it? Unless you had your PC.
Yeah, my PC runs it fine. I go up to 120 then.
Yeah,
I go all the way, and I can run it at 4K fairly decently because the game decides to occasionally do that itself. It's like, I don't want to run at 1080. I want to run at 4K. It's like, no, come back. Hold your horses there. I haven't got a 4K screen. I just have to tell it to do that every now and then. But we haven't even touched on the new feature, the seasonal stuff.
And
it's like, I mean, okay, questions immediately. Does that mean they're breaking away from their festival thing? Because it's like a year-long festival now.
Maybe.
Well, I mean, they showed the blimp with the advert on it, right?
For the Forza-thon.
Yeah. Maybe it's more local events rather than just a big...
Yeah. I mean, I don't mind that. The whole festival thing kind of perhaps had run its course.
Yeah.
And didn't make a whole lot of sense anyway. But like...
made sense in the first game, yeah.
Yeah. Well, maybe, yeah. Because it was the whole idea. It was sort of based on a real thing, wasn't it? Or, but then... I've heard things about you might be buying houses or something in this game as well.
No, really?
Yeah, it's like places to park your car. And
I suppose there is that gameplay where they showed of you driving out of a posh country house or whatever and getting on the road.
Do the old garage thing, maybe, like the old Gotham games used to. Or like Gotham 3 did anyway.
I miss those games.
Yeah, it was cool. I don't know. So I assume they're moving away. They did show a wristband at one point, so maybe it's not completely gone. But I bet me just hopes they drop the attitude start, from it. Like, I don't want those voiceovers. I don't want Kira to return.
The trouble is, like now we're in England,
British. Yeah,
you're just waiting for much worse voiceovers.
Well, the voiceover was Irish in 4.
Sure,
and the other guy was
3.
Australian, which obviously made sense. But yeah, the main lady that's like set your PA effectively was Irish. I don't know. I just want to drop that shtick. Like, just let me drive cars and do the things. You don't have to.
That would be good.
You don't have to. It's not as bad as the Codemasters. You can upload this to YouTube, but it's not far from it. They don't have to do that. So please don't.
And I'm sure everyone else in the entire world is going to have fun crashing constantly because they forget which side of the road to drive on.
How about Australia drive on the left? So we've done that already.
Do Australia drive on the left?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah, pretty sure.
Because also there's not very many cars.
Well, there are once Horizon though.
Well, I guess.
That's the other thing. The whole it's drawing real players in. Does that mean there's no driver tars now unless you're offline? Like, is everyone online? Like, is every other car you see? Are you always racing online? Is the other thing. Like, is it matchmaking every challenge you do, which might break progression? Like, or is there progression now? Is it just go out and have fun in cars? Just do the thing. It doesn't matter where you come, which might actually be a good angle. I might be okay with that. Just go and have fun in cars.
Well, the whole blimp thing did basically look like a world event, right? Just here's a thing that pops up, and then you should probably go and do it if you're anywhere nearby.
Yeah. And the group does it. If there's a group goal.
Basically like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it looks cool. It is coming out this year. So that will be on Game Pass. I specifically said that as well, just to make sure. October 22nd. So
pretty soon.
Sort of in the middle of the maelstrom of game season, but I suppose that's when these things normally come out. I hope they fix the wheel support because it's been sort of okay. It's not brilliant. Codemasters do a way better job with their wheel support, so
they really worked quite a lot on that for Dirt Rally, didn't they?
Yeah, so
like really after the game was out, basically, but not out, but early access, whatever.
Yeah. Specifically put the work in. So I hope Playground do a bit more work on that and sort that out. Because it's a pain to get working. So now let's talk about the shopping spree.
Yeah.
This is more of Microsoft being that little bit self-aware, I suppose. And Phil had basically said as much last year that they were going to do something like this, that they were talent hunting. He didn't say it at the show. It sort of was said in interviews and stuff afterwards. It's like, hey, we need to do something about our first-party problem that we've got at the moment. So this is them coming out and saying, we're doing something about it.
Which is basically just buying everyone who's just recently released a game.
Yeah, which might not be the best idea. Like the buying people that have recently made a game is the sort of perhaps worrying part, because it's like, we're not going to see anything from these studios for a while. The one that the mystery one came first, I suppose, is like The Initiative, which is like a newly formed studio. We don't know what they're doing. We don't know what they're working on. Makes sense, I guess, if they're new. The Initiative is a somewhat on the nose name, I suppose. So there's that.
They're just doubling down on the collective and all that.
The Coalition.
The Coalition.
Yeah. They've acquired Playground Games outright, which makes sense. Like, them doing nothing but making Forza for the last few years. It's like, so why not come under their umbrella? And they also sort of teased that what we already knew, that Playground are working on something else as well as Forza. Some are bringing their open world expertise, was what he said, to a new franchise. For background, this is rumoured to be Fable, but he said, we'll talk about this later.
What's the point of doing the Fable franchise anymore? Like, what's in there that you want to build on? Like, screw it, just do your own thing.
I mean, I guess Fable's always one of those things where it's like, if someone was to actually attempt the Molyneux Promises, there's probably some more they could do to it.
I'd rather have another Black and White, to be honest.
Yeah. I know what you mean.
Or Dungeon Keeper, or like fucking anything.
But Fable might be the other IP that Microsoft had that might benefit from open world expertise, I guess.
I guess so.
Unless they're working on Halo. So that's a no-brainer. They've also bought Undead Labs, who just put out State of Decay 2. Again, a no-brainer, I suppose. They see the potential in that studio, is what everyone thinks. It's like, if they've managed to pull this off with a relatively small team and a relatively small budget, I think Microsoft sees as like, okay, this team might actually have some promise for good things with a little bit of help. So now, the contentious one. Well, one of the contentious ones, I suppose. They've bought Ninja Theory. Now, this is fascinating to me, because Ninja Theory had just carved the path for being totally independent and being successful and being able to carry on doing what they do. And then out they come with, like, you don't know, we've been acquired by Microsoft. Like, so the big question that immediately comes to mind with this is like, okay, why have they agreed to this other than chasing that money? It's and they themselves actually immediately came out and put a video up saying, okay, we know we've been spinning the independent line for a while, and now it looks like we've sold out, but here's why we did it. And the story goes that apparently Microsoft just approached them out of the blue and just been like, we like what you do, we want you to do more of it. And Ninja Theory raised all their concerns to Microsoft immediately and go, "Didn't you see what we're trying to do here? We're trying to build this like new independence movement and things like that, and we don't want to be limited by corporate decisions about how we do our games and things like that. We want to have complete freedom." And Microsoft just said, "Yeah, all right, just do it with our backing." So apparently nothing changes at Ninja Theory other than they're not on the threat of closure.
Yeah, fine. So, I mean, whatever. And yeah, there'll be exclusive games, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, they have to be now that they're first party.
Yeah, that's it.
But good on Ninja Theory. It's like, in a way, it's like, I mean, good for them as a company. I want to see them succeed, and I want to see them do more. And now they have backing. I expect great things from them. Well, I always did expect great things from them. So I hope it doesn't change too much. But
cool.
At least now we know they're going to be putting stuff out in safety.
So yeah.
And the last one, which I think is the weirdest of the bunch, Compulsion Games, who are the team behind We Happy Few, which has had a very rocky early access experience. Effectively, like, despite its like super cool premise and stuff like that, the early access stuff for We Happy Few has basically been a survival game.
Well, that's why they showed it again right now, and we're like, "Yeah, it's better now."
we're bringing story. It's still admittedly, We Happy Few is still being published by Gearbox, so I guess like that's still part of the arrangement that Gearbox still have their hands on this game at least. But Gearbox totally bungled the early access thing and like raised the price without adding anything, and then had to take it off sale because of backlash. The price
without adding anything is necessarily that unusual for early access.
No, but they would normally do it like on release and be like,
not always.
I don't know. Whatever way you look at it, people haven't been happy with how that's been handled. And so one assumes Microsoft are willing to say, "Hey, that was Gearbox's fault, not your fault." At this point in time, they must be convinced that Gearbox bungled this and not Compulsion, because otherwise that's a weird pickup. There's no proof behind this that of what they can do, and what We Happy Few is even like. I assume Microsoft has seen We Happy Few in way more detail than we have, but do you know what I mean? It, like, from the outside, it feels like a strange choice, but we shall see.
They're just in a buying mood. Time to buy shit. They decided. I mean, have you heard the big acquisition, Rob? Not really a games thing, but.
And what, Disney going after Main Fox?
No, from Microsoft.
From Microsoft. What did they buy? GitHub.
They bought GitHub for God knows how many billions.
Yeah, I guess it was on the cards. They've been trying to put Git into Visual Studio Team services for a while, so.
Because they had that competitor years ago, Codeplex, and they were like, eventually they're like, "Sod it, no one uses this thing. Just move everything to GitHub." And then they're like, "Oh, well, we better buy that."
Why don't we have that as well? Yeah. Yeah, it sounds like it might be a pretty hands-off thing, but it sounds like they're going to be using some of GitHub's technology in BSTS. Is what the immediate assumption is.
That's probably good. GitHub is really awesome software.
Pretty great. Yeah. Pretty great.
And of course, there's Atom and VS Code are basically the same thing now, and now they own both of them. So I don't know what happened with that, but yeah, I think they've said they'll keep developing both for the time being.
Weird. Maybe some healthy internal competition or something.
Yeah, completely. But now they'll own Electron, which is the platform that VS Code runs on. So anyway, non-news, non-game news, but
Microsoft buying
news.
Stuff.
Yeah, and there's probably quite a lot of open source gaming code on GitHub, I would have thought.
Probably, yeah. I randomly saw, I think someone who at least probably used to work for Microsoft, might not anymore, tweet about someone basically managed to build Pong in Unity's properties editor.
Oh, God.
So he extended the properties editor so you could play a game of Pong inside it, like with bits of UI. So there's like a checkbox bouncing around.
Just like Excel, really.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah, that's quite funny. We'll talk some PUBG.
Not really.
No,
Not anything to say about it.
not really. There's the same. I think that this trailer basically had the same stuff they've already announced as coming to the PC version, with the possible exception of that winter map. I don't think we knew that was going to be a thing.
No.
But so a map is what we got out of PUBG. I assume it's done well for Microsoft. So keep pushing it. Do what you got to do. Tales of Vesperia was an interesting turn up. Like old game we're talking here, getting an HD remake. Sort of Hearts and Minds plays, apparently, because there's some content in that game and some add-ons to that game that never ever got a European and US release. So, good to have it across, I suppose, with all the content intact. Maybe this wasn't the show for, I don't know. Is it, I don't know. The Tales game strike me as like they have a niche fan base, but they have a fan base. So,
well, Microsoft showed that fucking whatever that card game that didn't actually come out was at their E3.
Oh boy, yeah, what was that? No, but they did re-release the original, didn't they?
But the game that they were trailing didn't come out.
Phantom Dust?
Sounds about right.
Is that it? Something like that, yeah. Yeah, talk about niche.
Yeah.
Okay, they then had an idea Xbox montage that, to be honest with you, I haven't followed.
Missed all the one.
Oh no, so yeah, you're right. I have got that note. I did just scroll down too far. Division 2.
Yep.
Looks like the Division.
Yep.
Gamer chat trailer.
Yep. Which I've hopefully just labelled with the words "level up."
Oh man, I've been so busy. I haven't reached level 30 yet.
But not only did they say that, but later on there was the UI moment where after the end of the fight you just see the UI above the person. It just said level up. It's like, yep, apparently they did.
Well done. We need to level you up. There's lots of loot down there. Let's not go down there though. Let's do the scripted fight.
Yes, let's do this other thing that looks better.
Oh, why do Ubisoft keep doing the gamer chat thing? I know it's a part of Division for sure, right? And this might be the least excruciating it's been.
And it's pretty much the only time it happened, this whole thing.
Yeah, true. But it's still kind of painful. Still hate it. I mean, I'll be honest. It looks... I can't really find anything bad to say about the Division, other than it just looks like the Division. It doesn't look massively new. I didn't really get any... pushing the genre forward vibes from it or anything like that.
No.
It just looked like more.
Yep.
Snowdrop engine. Engine names. Drop your engine names. Yeah, so no...
Slipspace engine.
Slipspace engine, yeah. We didn't even say that earlier, but yeah. Engine names. So what did you pull anything interesting out of the idea Xbox montage?
Well, you skipped another thing briefly.
Oh, did I?
They talked some more about Game Pass at this point.
Oh no, this was this fast start?
Yeah, that's part of why it was inside Game Pass. You've got like fast start and it's like because you have some kind of account now, because it can get data, so they think that they can use that data to use an AI to figure out what you want and preload games.
Oh, is that what this is? Because I didn't really get what they were talking about. Is like this just some smarter way of doing the download?
Yeah, it seems like it.
Is it like a preload?
Yeah, they want to.
I want to turn that off.
Well, yes, obviously anyone with a bandwidth cap is going to want to turn that off immediately.
Actually, it's not a problem for me. I don't have a bandwidth
cap.
I just don't really want to waste power.
No.
Like, don't download stuff like that. I'm likely not to want.
They want them to just use some cloud AI to work out the recommendations, I guess.
Yeah,
because that works so well on Steam.
I'm sure someone out there will love that stuff. It is sort of moving more towards what the original Xbox Dream was.
Well, yes,
in, like the original vision for Xbox One. Before that all got poo-pooed. Maybe they've had this ready for ages,
possibly,
and we're just like, but we can actually launch this now.
Maybe now it works sufficiently well.
Yeah.
And then the indie montage, which I didn't write anything down from. So
I mean, Below was in there,
I guess, but what's that? What are we saying about that? It still hasn't fucking come out. That's what we're saying about that.
I give it another billion years, and we might actually have that game. Honestly, what are Capybara doing at the moment? Like, I haven't put anything out for a while, I don't think. Yeah, there was Ashen in there as well, which I think I got a main spot at one of the previous shows.
Being released.
Yeah. Again, don't really mind much about that. There was a claymation-looking game, a Harold something. Apologies, but I can't remember the name. But it just had a real striking look to it. That looked like it was like sort of animated, like properly animated, hand animated, like either stop motion or claymation or something like that, and just showed you walking through a building, and it sort of a real interesting look. I need to follow up on what that really is. Then there was and Sable was in there as well, which is we've has been known for a little while, but has again a really striking look to it. If in their own way, and this came up at the PC Gamer show as well, so we'll talk about. Well, I might as well talk about it now, so we don't have to cover it later. But they're gunning for a sort of French or European sort of solid color comic book style, where they don't really use gradients or anything like that. Everything is just a solid color with like harsh ink outlines on everything, and other than some very heavy aliasing, they kind of get there, and it's quite. It's real. If you haven't seen it, yeah, check it out. Just look at it, and it's worth a gander. I can't remember anything else from that montage, to be honest. It went very fast. And now we get probably the second most mentioned game of the show, Shadow of the Tomb Raider.
Yes. So you didn't show much of it in this conference.
No, we got a bit of a trailer. That was about it. Some stuff. She's underwater a lot, trying to escape from underwater stuff. She's wearing the green top now.
She murders everyone constantly.
Yeah.
Not in this trailer, though. Well, not as much in this trailer.
I mean, there's a little bit of murder, but and then we get #Skate4.
Yeah, not quite.
Not quite #Skate4.
Oh, god damn it!
But it looks a lot like Skate.
Well, it's a skateboarding game. Of course, it looks like Skate.
I know, but like even down to how it's being, how that trailer was shot and things like that. Like, you know,
it's shot like a skate video.
Yeah, but yes, the sort of fisheye lens.
Yes, exactly.
Everything's better with a fisheye lens.
Where's my Skate4?
Apparently, this is just that, like, you know,
okay.
dual
as long as it's good.
controls, like to represent tricks, like performed with each foot. You know, so you use your left foot and right foot with your left stick and right stick. That's what they're gunning for. So it's got that skate vibes. I have dug in to try. I did have a quick look to see if this was ex-skate devs that were working on this thing, but didn't come up with any particular proof. So it might not be ex-skate, but I would be surprised if it's not, in fairness, because it looks a lot like Skate.
True.
And it's called Session, which I think is kind of a cool name.
With a full stop on the end, like Skate.
Oh, yeah. I forgot Skate had the stop. Yeah, good name. Good name. I like that. And then Black Desert, for some reason.
Yeah, for some reason.
It's coming to Xbox, I guess.
Keep showing it some more for some reason.
I mean, I guess it wasn't coming to Xbox before, and now it is. Or was it just an expansion? I don't know. Anyway. And then the next thing was cool.
Kind of. It seems like a weird return to what they were doing previously. Only not, but sort of.
I mean, it's in the original series.
Yeah.
Devil May Cry 5. The direct follow-on from Devil May Cry 4. Except it's probably a prequel, or somewhere in the middle of the timeline, apparently. Or maybe not. No one really knows, but it looked rad. Oh, but I'm just going to straight up say it looked like a Devil May Cry game, but it looked rad. Like new graphics and robotic electro hands. Lots of demon killing. Lots of attitude. Catching a cigarette out of midair. In your mouth. I don't know, I thought it looked cool. Stylish action. No? Nothing? Alright, moving on.
No, nothing.
It's not DMC, though.
It's not DMC,
for some reason.
But must because Ninja Theory wouldn't have worked on it.
Yeah, sure, but...
It's Nero,
It's confusing enough that they just decided to call it DMC, and it's like, yeah, it's clearly Devil May Cry, but it's not called Devil May Cry, it's called DMC because it's the Dota.
It's a spin-off. Yeah, DMC was cool, but I guess it didn't. I assume it didn't sell as well, and wasn't what the fans were after, despite it being a truly excellent game. But ho-hum, it is what it is. This looks cool too. I might actually have to play some of the earlier Devil May Cry games at some point. Cuphead is getting some DLC called The Delicious Last Course, which I think is a cool name for some DLC. I like how they described it as an exciting addendum or something like that as well.
With a new character?
And a female character, yeah, the awesomely titled Miss Chalice.
Miss Chalice.
Cuphead. They're so cool. I also thought this next thing looked really interesting. Now, we've known about it for a while. I think it's the first time I'd seen it in action. Like, I saw some proper footage of it. Tunic, which looks like a sort of Zelda-esque, very Zelda-esque style game, but with a really nice 3D but still blocky art style, with modern rendering and all that.
Oh
stuff.
Yeah, that looked cool.
I'm kind of sold. It looked really. I loved the music that they chose for that as well. It had very Disaster Piece vibes about it. Maybe I hope it is Disaster Piece, but yeah, I thought that looked really cool. Green Tunic Fox, definitely a Link ripoff, but I'm okay with that. A Microsoft exclusive, must be said. That was one of the exclusives. How much manga can you take?
Less than this, probably.
Probably less than Jump Force. Yeah, what if your favourite animes came together and had a big old fight? It's not the first time they've done this, I don't think, but it might have been the first time they've done it with such highly well-known animes.
Well, it might be the first time they've done these all together. They've probably done individual ones of these before.
One Piece has definitely had Musou games and things like that. One Piece has had several games. Naruto have definitely had lots of games. Dragon Ball's obviously had billions of games and fighters fairly recently. But this might be the first time that those three franchises have been in a game together, having a fight. We've had so I assume this is coming from Shonen Jump, right? Hence why it's called Jump Force.
Yes,
and we have had other Shonen Jump games before, like J-Stars and things like that, where they've combined like huge swathes of their manga and anime characters into one of those weird 3D floaty fighting game styles that I really don't care for. But they're interesting, but I just don't really get them. So I think this might be one of those, just with a very flashy, realistic makeover. You know what I mean? They definitely are going away from the cartoon look for this. This is all like, weirdly, I got like Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite vibes.
Oh yeah,
and it's like, okay, maybe that wasn't that. People didn't like that so much. Maybe don't do that. Look mental though. Could be cool. Dying Light 2. They spent quite a lot of time on Dying Light 2. We have no experience with the last game, right?
No.
So this is Techland, who I think were responsible for the first Dead Island game.
Yeah.
And then had splintered off to do their own thing. I think Dying Light, the first one, was pretty well received as a sort of parkour zombie survival mashup.
Mm-hmm.
But interestingly, they have not been. They didn't play to the zombie stuff like at all, really.
Oh.
Wow, they briefly
mentioned the night.
Well,
bad.
Yeah, they briefly showed some zombies, and it was like, yeah, it still works on the same day-night system.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that would make sense because the game's core hook, but they really want to sell you on the idea is like, hey, no, you're building a community now, or what you're doing is affecting the world around you, and it's like, okay, that sounds interesting. And this rabbit, you're selling it like the rabbit hole goes deep, like really deep. Like if you're showing us one example that has significant changes, and you're claiming that there are hundreds, seems interesting. I mean, but
definitely.
I don't think it's interesting to me because there's just a bit of me that be like, I don't really necessarily want a parkour zombie game because it's a zombie game again. But I came off the back of State of Decay 2 feeling okay. So
yeah, I mean they got that guy in to develop the lore, right, of the world and stuff. Is that right?
Yeah, what's his name? Steve? Is it Steve or Abalone? Anyway.
Yeah, isn't he like the Planescape Torment dude and all that?
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's probably. I mean, it's definitely a good thing.
And he seemed into it.
Yeah,
like
he did.
I only hope you would be for someone that was writing it, but he didn't. None of it felt like I'm forced to be here.
No, I mean, I think that genuinely could be a bit of an ace in the hole.
I hope so, because if the decision stuff works and what they're selling on that stuff sounds real interesting.
Yeah, for sure.
Like more than the base Dying Light on its own seems interesting. It's like that would be what I come for. And maybe they know that. Maybe they want to separate themselves from the zombie thing a little bit. Because there's so many of them. Maybe just a little bit.
I'm sure there'll be plenty of zombies.
No, yeah, I'm sure. Would you like some Battletoads? Because you're not getting it for a while.
Yeah, apparently.
There'll be some Battletoads next year. They did it. They went there. They finally did.
Why would you want that?
I mean, people don't make that many beat 'em ups anymore.
I guess
they make this. This is going to be a classic Battletoads game, apparently, by the sounds of it. Beat 'em ups. Although people are a bit worried it will look like their joke hover bike graphic that they put on screen. It's like, if it looks like that, then I'm out.
Yeah, they didn't really show anything.
No, they showed nothing other than it's being made, and it's like, I mean, yeah, a new thing. Good on them. Something coming, but not yet. All right, Zach, tell me about Just Cause 4.
I don't think there's much to say about it, really. It looks like it's just another Just Cause game, but in a nicer engine. You still blow shit up that's red. That's basically all you need to know about Just Cause.
Doesn't it have it has thrusters you can attach to things and balloons?
Yeah,
and
you already had
stuff?
those.
Oh, right.
Well, except, I guess in the last game, the thrusters were also explosives, which kind of negated the whole point of them being thrusters.
Right.
Because all you ever did was just attach them to a thing to cause them to fly away and explode.
There
was no separation between the thrust and the explosion. You knew that as soon as you put it on it, it was going to fly away, but it was also going to explode, so you couldn't really, ride it or anything.
So I guess now they are controllable?
Yeah, I guess now... Well,
now it's Gary's mod?
Maybe not
it's Gary's mod now.
Controllable, but at least maybe they don't explode.
Yeah. And they were like, now the tethering system, you can have loads of tethers.
I mean, they tried to do that in the last game, but not as many as they apparently have now.
Seems like a lot now. At least 4. So you can build, floating cars.
I forget what the total, how many you could end up with in 3 was. It was actually quite a lot. I remember seeing definitely videos of, this helicopter has a tether attached to each blade, and at the end of the tether is a cow.
What? That's pretty funny. Yeah, I don't know. How do you feel about this car culture soundtrack? Trap? Is it trap? I always get confused with these genres. But that one, it sounded.
It's not Firestarter, is it?
It's not. Nothing will beat that trailer in my mind. That was a cool trailer. But yeah, I don't know. I think they played it too serious. I think.
I don't know if they played it that serious. Maybe in this trailer, when they showed more of it in the Square one, it's clearly just that game again.
Yeah, but I mean, maybe that's the most disappointing thing. Actually, that other than them adding systems, and apparently they're adding a lot of physics.
Well, yeah, I mean that's the thing that it just being that game again but better is maybe the important part, because it's Just Cause 3 was kind of average,
right?
It was one of those games, but it was just you didn't really blow this out of the park or anything. It's just you just go around and destroy things in the Just Cause style of way that you do.
Is physics enough? Does the physics elevate it enough? is wind and tornadoes.
And also, the car physics in Discord pretty sucked. Which kind of made driving anywhere kind of annoying, especially on bikes.
They did specifically say they I think it was in the PC Gaming Show that
they Square one.
Yeah, one of the two that they have overhauled the handling model for cars completely,
and that's how you know that they needed it was bad.
Yeah,
they mentioned it specifically.
Yeah. Now for the Gears of War section.
Yeah, weird. There's a whole section of the Gears of War stuff.
Yeah, which I don't think anyone was really anticipating. Like, Gears 5, anticipated. We expect this to come. What then followed...
Or what came first.
What came first,
Gears 5
yeah.
Was a hilarious fake out.
What is Gears Pop? Other than...
It's a stupid mobile game, isn't it?
It's a mobile game.
I think we know it's a mobile game, but who in their right mind thought this was a good idea? Like, I guess... Microsoft liked Funko's money.
I guess.
I assume it works that way around. Yeah, weird one. A lot of stuff I've seen, basically just the words "oh no" are prevalent, and this comes about. Funko is weirdly hated more than.
Oh, I hate that stuff.
Oh, really?
The Funko that is in the pop head things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't understand why they're. I mean, they're like the sort of. I mean, I don't hate it, but like I don't understand why it's so popular, and it's kind of annoying that it's so popular. So that turns into like hate.
I mean, it sort of makes sense. It's basically just like. I mean, I say basically it's like, but it pretty much is the modern equivalent of bobbleheads, where you just make a bobblehead of anything.
Yeah.
Any famous person, any.
Yeah, but it's not as good as something like Pez dispensers. I mean, that's great. Who doesn't want a Pez dispenser of everything, including Marcus Phoenix? But the pop heads, I really don't get. I don't know what the difference is. I suppose.
I mean, that the pop heads is obviously they've got that look, right? That's their thing. It's like they've somehow found a cute face that people like.
It's not cute though, is it? I guess people think it is.
I suppose it's chibied.
It's not very. It's not exactly Hello Kitty, is it? Like, I don't know.
It's not. In some ways, it's not far from Hello Kitty. Really,
maybe. Yeah, doesn't have that charm though. That capitalist charm.
I don't know. I wouldn't say I'm a huge fan, but I have got a Funko Pop Eggman and a Funko Pop Groot, and they're kind of cool. Sorry, I'm part of the problem.
Apparently, that's fine. I mean,
however, on this front, I will draw the line.
But
Gears Pop doesn't work for me.
It's fine when it's just the models, where it's just a pop culture characters put into a specific style, and we're selling them as a tiny statue thing. That's fine. When you're like taking that style and then mashing, this is just like the Angry Birds movie. It's just like
you're not
we're
Lego.
Taking a thing where we're just turning it into something completely different.
You're not Lego. You're not as big as that. Like,
well, Lego. The funny thing about Lego is they actually make like Funko Pop heads from Lego, like in an insane crossover. That's actually a thing.
Really? That's a thing?
Yeah. There are Lego sets of like, say, Captain America that look like Funko Pop heads, but made of Lego. That's a thing.
Wow.
Really
weird.
Nuts. Yeah, really weird.
Do they bobble?
I don't think
Lego.
So. Maybe they do. I don't know. I haven't.
Huh.
Yeah, weird.
Well, let's move on from that.
Yeah.
And I'm a little bit sad that they brushed over Gears Tactics as quickly as they did, because they were just like, oh, and we're making this other thing. Yeah. And it's like, hey, that looks really interesting. Like XCOM Gears with a
why did they brush over that? That's like such an obviously good idea. I mean, obviously a rip-off, but still
I mean, yeah, but who cares? XCOM 2 apparently wasn't all that.
Well, yeah, but will this be even as functional as XCOM was? Yeah. That's the real question.
I mean, we don't really know who's making it. Like, I assume a team at the Coalition might be, but then, like, they've got 343 tended to hand off like their strategy stuff to other people. So I assume this is being made by someone else other than Coalition's core team, but. Because Coalition's core team are working on Gears 5, of which we saw no gameplay, but at least there's some story stuff. And I'll give it credit for what I didn't like about Gears 4, I didn't see any of that in the Gears 5 trailer. Gone seemed to be that sort of modern humour, quote unquote.
It wasn't a very humorous situation, though.
No, but
they didn't really have an opportunity to be dumb humorous.
But I didn't get any of those vibes that those characters were as, I don't know, just as irritating as they were in Gears 4. So that's a plus. That scene in the trailer where Kate sort of gets ambushed by robots has me like, maybe they're going back to the horror side of this a little bit, and it's like, that's cool too if they do that. Maybe lean more in that direction. Just anything to stop it from being just a run-of-the-mill Gears game, a run-of-the-mill cover shooter like Gears 4 was. They need to find something to elevate it, and if that thing is story, fine, because you failed last time. But I don't know. From what I've been, again, my own sentiment, as you may have gathered, is a little bit more up than it was before. But I think that's the general sentiment all round. It's like, okay, good trailer. I want to see the game now. I'm going to cough. That just built up in the back of my throat. That was Gears. I don't know. I guess you guys have no real. They finally picked up on that locust imagery thing. I did like that Marcus is still there, and he's just like, I know a place.
Of course he does.
Yeah, of course he does.
Well, I'm not up on the story because I didn't play Gears 4 or whatever, so it was very story-based.
Yeah, but even then, the bit that they showed, it's like, okay, what they said, it's like, oh, something bad has happened. It's like, but I don't actually know who died.
No.
I don't actually know what that was about. That's not made obvious. Because I thought everyone you cared about died in the last game, in fairness. Obviously no Coltrane action, which is obviously a shame.
I mean, was it the person who died, was it that, like, the fourth character from 4? Were they just, like, opening up a team slot to bring in a new character in the fight?
I mean, that would be surprising if they killed the character that you thought was dead at the end of 4, but then the post-credit stinger, he's alive.
Yeah.
No, they just killed him again.
Yeah.
That would be quite funny in a strange way. That was Dom. Dom's back to life, and he's now dead again.
Yeah. Like, it's Carmine somehow.
Oh, mate. Yeah, so I don't know what that was about, but we did know about the necklace. That was kind of the thing at the end of Gears 4. Like, so they've sort of spoilt basically all of Gears 4 because like none of it matters other than the fact that you've learnt that she's connected to the Locust somehow.
Yeah,
because her and her mum have this jewelry, or grandmother, I think.
Which for some reason, like, I mean, I guess I didn't play Gears 4, but like, it seems like you could probably just ask what's going on with that. Really, it's only jewelry. It's not like a fucking birthmark or something.
Yeah,
it's just like she could have picked up off a corpse for all you know.
True, but yeah, I think that they're implying that there's some kind of bloodline connected to. It probably means they're related to the Phoenixes in some distant way.
Sounds good.
I know a place. Let's see some game. Looked nice visually, looks nice, but then the last game looked really excellent as well, visually. So we got some closing remarks from Phil with a. Again, a tease that Xbox are probably thinking about streaming services.
Yep, apparently everyone's on that now.
Yeah, like, is PlayStation now successful enough that they're starting to care? Because I didn't think that thing was doing so hot.
No.
Yeah. In fairness, if anyone's going to pull it off, Microsoft would probably be the ones with their Azure service backing and all that stuff. It's like they would probably know how to do this as best as it could be done right now.
Maybe.
But then Sony brought on one of those original streaming companies to do the job for them anyway.
Yeah.
No, man. Yeah, I don't know. Don't care. I'm always going to be until it's 100% proven and 100% the way to play, I'm always going to be have it local, boys. I don't want none of that input lag or any risk of my connection going buffering and the service not knowing and then me dying. Something like that. Like, it just sounds the worst. But the best, and probably the star of the show, I thought, was the finish. Well, Phil Spencer gets cut off. The show gets hacked.
Yeah, by hacks.
And instead of picking new final, they pick the E3 trailer option. And we get a sweet trailer for Cyberpunk 2077. How are we feeling about Cyberpunk? This looks amazing.
It looks pretty damn good. I like the world so far.
I like it a lot.
Yeah.
It's like this is I mean, we know a little bit more than what the trailer showed. I mean, there's a lot going on in the trailer. There's like, it's pulling basically every cyberpunk trope imaginable.
Basically, yeah.
Like, people augmenting, people jacking in.
Yep.
Things going wrong with the jacking in.
Yep. Outrun style sports cars.
Yeah. Just cool tech all around. Like those people playing pool and the pool tables putting like guidelines down like virtual pool did.
Of course, yeah.
Guns, dystopia.
Light up jackets, obviously.
Light up jackets, yeah.
Very important.
That you'll never see, probably, because as it turns out, this wasn't shown in the trailer, but they've talked about it a bit afterwards. It's like it's going to be first person.
Right. Yeah.
So this is Project Red going in a different direction.
I'm actually excited for that.
Yeah, I think it could be. Well, I mean,
I want to walk around.
The obvious parallel is Deus Ex, right? Like,
yeah, exactly. I mean, that's the cyberpunk game, kind of, in many ways.
Yeah.
But it was never a full RPG in the way that something like The Witcher is. Not that that's a full RPG, but it is an RPG.
Yeah, I would have said The Witcher was even comparable to Deus Ex in the RPG-esque style.
Yeah, that's true, actually.
Skill points or whatever.
Mm.
Yeah. But it wasn't as open as like a Witcher. And I'm imagining this to be more open, right? Although I suppose the newer Deus Ex had some bigger areas, I suppose. Like the Hengshai Island stuff, but not really.
They tried to be like, oh, you need to go to this warehouse and maybe you can find different ways in, except there's really only like 2.
Yeah.
But I wonder like how it's actually going to work. Like if you have the car and you're driving around, it's like, okay, how big is this? Like it's set up as a city, right? This is set in the city. And like so if I drive down the street, is every place I'm driving by some interesting, hyper busy, bustling part of the city that I can wander around and do things in?
Probably
not. I mean, obviously, probably not. But
because like in Witcher 3, it's mostly fields, right? And you have your horse and you can go everywhere, but not everywhere is interesting. Although everywhere is pretty. But how do you make a cyberpunk city that way?
But it means like you're going to need to go everywhere because it's that sort of game, maybe. Or are they going to have to heavily block it off so it doesn't come across like that? But then I don't. It's one of those. It's like this sounds incredibly difficult to pull off.
So they did give a gameplay demo, right? But it was behind closed doors, so you just have to read what people are saying about it.
Yeah, that's the only way we know about the first-person thing.
I mean, I would have said, if you wanted to go really hard on like sectioning things off, there's plenty of cyberpunk ways you can do it. You just have a force field. It's like you can't walk in here if you've got a certain orientation, and then you just die.
or some kind of clearance, or you're not a class, the right class.
Exactly.
Like, because it seemed like there was some segregation going
on. It's a city, but it could easily just be a district, where it's just like a sectioned off area.
You don't have your district pass. Dystopia.
The funny thing about the hacks at the end of the Microsoft press conference is on the giant bomb stream shortly after the end of the conference, their stream computer crashed.
Oh yeah,
so the whole stream went down. Like, more hacks! It's spreading.
I did switch to that just to see their final comments, and it's like, yeah, classy. And we see Windows for a bit.
Yeah,
which is even funnier. She's like, oh, it's a Windows desktop. Microsoft hacks. Anyway, pretty slick show all around, I thought. I wouldn't say massive surprises, like nothing particularly like, whoa, or like, oh my gosh, they're doing that. But like,
well, Halo was quite whoa.
Halo was Halo was quite a surprise.
We don't know what the fuck it is.
Yeah, and we still don't know what it is. But it's not what anyone was expecting. I mean, we were expecting Halo in some form this year, right?
But the fact that it's not Halo 6, I think, is good from my perspective.
Although I did notice that when IGN uploaded that teaser trailer, their title for it was Halo Infinite brackets Halo 6. It's like, I think you're making some fairly serious assumptions there.
Yeah, they are. I mean, unless Phil's said something.
Yeah, unless someone does know something.
Or, what's her name? There's someone from 343 that's normally on stage that has a really funny name. Like, not funny, but like somewhat cool, like Wolf or something like that. Anyway, can't remember. Yeah, a pretty slick show around, as you'd expect from Microsoft. Pretty good selection of games, but nothing too like whoa. In fairness, the big whoa news for me was like you're buying Ninja Theory, okay. And I guess part of the problem is although like a chunk of these games are exclusive to Microsoft in some way, a large chunk of them aren't. So if you're not Microsoft, don't worry about it. Just enjoy the show. Right. How are we doing for time?
Well, we've got to get through Bethesda.
All right, we're at the 2-hour mark for this first segment.
Chapter 1.
Yeah, I mean, some of this stuff we're going to be able to get through quicker anyway because we'll be hitting things we've touched on earlier. But okay, so the immediate thing, and like the Bethesda show, is like, we've got to have a little dev diary thing again.
You've got to be like humans right here.
Yeah, thanks to us. Yay us, which they did last year as well.
And also the classic thing where someone says that one of the things that they do is fix things that are broken. It's like, do you? I'm not sure about that, actually. Have you played Fallout or Skyrim?
He's probably not on those teams. He probably worked on Doom. And then we get to see the stage, and I just want to bring this up. This is a weird stage choice. Like the sort of train track state, or whatever you want to call it, where it's like hovering screens down the middle, it's like crowd on both sides.
I was trying to work out. It's like, was it just like a basketball court? Is that what that?
Well, maybe.
Because it seemed like it was like maybe that was about the right size for the. But I don't think basketball courts usually have that steep a seating.
I think there'd be more seating.
Yeah.
As well, if it was a proper big team.
Yeah. Like, where the hell were they?
What an odd staging choice.
Yep, because half the crowd never gets to see the person presenting.
They're mostly always facing that one way, right? They very rarely did the thing where they turned around. Yeah.
But at least they had screens on both sides, I guess.
All right, so let's open with what we know. Let's do Rage 2, and let's bring in the guy that did the music for the trailer we just saw for a live performance, Andrew WK. Let's party.
Yep, hard.
Party hard.
Not that song.
Not that song.
One of the other 3 famous songs that he has.
I saw a lot of people commenting. It's like, oh, that was a pretty sweet performance. Shame the crowd didn't care.
Yeah, the crowd never cares at anything at E3 because they're all hella jet lagged and super tired.
We've been out partying, probably with Andrew WK. As it turns out.
Yep.
I thought it was a good performance, but it would have been nice if they were playing a trailer whilst the live thing was going on. Maybe.
That
would have been cool. Yes, we saw a lot more about how this thing is, really.
It had a slightly funny presentation where the Scandinavian guy was gigantic.
Yeah.
And also forgetting lines.
Yeah. A couple of moments of that this year.
Yeah.
So, I don't really know where to start with this, really. It's like... I don't think there's almost not a great deal to say other than it looks like a first-person game with powers and seems quite Doomish, but in bigger environments with the odd bit of car action. Yeah. I guess the weird thing is that they're like leaning into nanotech to give you powers, which they didn't really do in the first game. So it seems like they're, sort of almost disregarding the first game a little bit and just being like, hey, we do stuff. We go mad here. We've got double jumps and the Force.
I mean, I don't know if the nanotech is all going to come from space, and that's why, because that seemed to be the key point of this mission they showed. Right? Like, you have to bring the thing from space, and that we need that for something else, but also bonus powers.
Yeah. While you're there, you might as well pick this thing up. Don't let anyone else have that. Yeah. I did like that sequence though, as the thing comes down and it like blows out the building you're in, and it's like
that seems a bit of a flaw in their space center design, where the target for the rocket landing
is a bit close,
completely destroys the thing you're standing in.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it showed well. Definitely showed well. some of the sort of, when they actually got to the sort of the proper trailer choices where they were cutting about a bit, and it was like, okay, maybe we didn't need to do it quite like that. But and what was that weird commercial in the middle of it? Or like just cut away to a TV showing a thing?
Well, because that was the advertisement for the pre-order, essentially.
No, was it?
Where like, here's your dumb, stupid shit that you're going to get with the pre-order.
Oh, I really didn't peg that.
I mean, at least that's what I'm assuming that was. Because Bethesda likes to do that kind of thing.
Yeah. All right. I mean, I think it looks good, but like they made it fairly clear that it's like a bit early.
Well, like, yeah, fairly.
It's also, Avalanche are busy at the moment because they're working on this and Just Cause.
Well, or Just Cause might be mostly done, though.
Yeah. Anyway, Rage 2, I don't know really if there's much to say on that. As much the same with Elder Scrolls Online.
And Elder Scrolls Legends.
Which
they also mentioned.
Just turn up, say some things, have those one or two crowd members get super excited.
Not quite as extreme as the Woo Woman.
As the Woo Lady. No, that was 2 years ago now. Oh, yeah. Woo Lady was a while ago.
It's like they kicked her out.
She was too enthusiastic. I forgot to mention, there was a guy in the Microsoft conference towards the end that sounded a lot like the Coal Train. There was a guy just go, woo! In exactly the same way. I don't know. Somerset.
Yeah, I guess.
That's a thing. Oh boy. I mean, we didn't get to see anything, but...
They barely explain. This is almost as bad as the Halo one.
Yeah. But let's just see some Hell on Earth. Doom, not 2. Doom Eternal. I think, in fairness, I think Doom Eternal's a bad name, but
like Halo, isn't it?
Yeah,
basically exactly the same.
Yeah, you're right. But man, another Doom game. I'm hype already.
They did at least say it's a sequel.
Yeah,
and the fact that it appears to be Hell on Earth, it's basically Doom 2. That's basically what happens in Doom 2.
Just call it Doom 2.
Yeah.
Fine, you could have done it.
Call it Doom 2 Hell on Earth.
Yeah, if you need a colon.
But they're not showing that here, so
no. But that music. I'm already in it. They did say like there's twice as many enemies to fight against as well, so that's good. They're not just adding a little bit to it. It's like, no, we're literally doubling it. It's like, okay, great, keep going. I'm in. Whatever you put out, I'm in. The obligatory Quake Champions bit. There was an and my notes here basically say there's a girl in shot that is looking at her watch constantly.
Yes, the traditional problems with crowd shots. The Bethesda one, the crowd shot was like, "Here's Danny O'Dwyer again and again and again."
He was in it a lot. In fairness, I think he's earned it because he's no clipped Doom, right? Like
he wasn't quite in the centre of the shot. It wasn't like they were looking at him. It was like, oh, there he is.
He just happens to be in the one place they've put a crowd camera.
Yeah.
I mean, Quake's gone free this weekend if you've been playing it, but you probably will have missed it by the time this podcast goes up. I thought about trying it. I haven't. They were just saying we're adding stuff to it. Still early access. Yeah. I thought it was out, but apparently not. Still early access.
Just haven't put in Orb.
And haven't put in Orb.
That's all you want.
Orb. I put in was it Roller Skating Girl?
Yeah.
Was the one for this one? Yeah.
That is Slash, right?
No idea.
I don't remember.
DLC for Prey.
Quite a lot, actually. Like not just one DLC, even it's sort of two. Almost.
Sort of two, yeah.
And with modes that I wouldn't have thought would have been in Prey.
So I wasn't quite clear on the structure of some of this. So is Moon Crash seems to be the big DLC, right? That they were pushing, which is like they're making a rogue-like.
Yeah, it seems like there's some kind of like runs go through a series of different levels.
Yeah, but they're arranged differently, and what happens in the rooms you've seen before may be different. Like there's different conditions, or like fire. Basically, they seem
fire.
There's a little bit of fire. Was there something else like single player? I mean, there's Typhon Hunter, which was the prop hunt game they're adding, which makes perfect sense for Prey, right?
Yeah.
Like,
except like maybe it's too difficult for Prey, because basically that's the whole point of the mimics is they're very good at that. And also, I mean, the thing about Prop Hunt in like the Garry's Mod context or the subsequent spin-off versions of that is that, like, you know, part of the problem with that game is you can only kind of play it like once because then you know where all the props are.
Right. Yeah.
So
well, unless it's got like a static prop randomizer.
Yeah, presumably it will have
that's the obvious
some way to fix that.
Yeah, that's the obvious fix. It didn't really work in the mod age where like the props are fixed, but
and also like the other trouble with Prop Hunt is that, I mean, I guess it's not really a problem with the game. It's more of a like theoretical world problem where it's like, why is all this shit just spread all over the place? Because if you're like,
well, again, doesn't it make sense in Prey that it's like, well, I don't know, just looking around my own room, there's stuff all over the place.
Yeah, but
right?
there's stuff all over the place in logical positions, and that was the problem with making choices for Prop Hunt, where it's like, sure, if I'm going to be a banana, I'll probably want to be on the table next to some other bananas.
Yeah, go near it.
But then that becomes obvious where it's like, oh, there's one extra banana here this time.
Or like, yeah, these coffee cups. Oh, there's one not on a coaster. Burn it.
But yeah, it's a fine thing. It's a fine game way to quit that game, I guess.
It's fun that they're adding it, like, at all and making a sort of thing of it. Because I don't think Prey had any multiplayer, did it?
I don't know.
So this might be like its first multiplayer mode. I don't know. All right. So next, we're not getting a Wolfenstein sequel just yet. We're getting a weird spin-off
that may
actually be the sequel, but they're not calling it Wolfenstein 3. They're calling it Wolfenstein Youngblood, and features, is it your daughters or
apparently?
Yeah, your twin daughters as the main characters.
The thing that was like why it's confusing about whether it's a sequel or not is because it's called Youngblood. Because the previous one we had Old Blood.
Oh yeah. That was the expansion.
That was the expansion to the other game.
Yeah.
It's like, so is this? What is this? Is this a sequel or is this an expansion? You haven't really helped us by calling it that.
I also didn't get some of the classic Wolfenstein vibes from that. Really, you know what I mean? I didn't get quite enough snark.
Well, they didn't really show much of it.
It seemed very
more like, let's focus on how the build up.
Yeah.
What these characters are doing in their training.
It felt a little straight. Yeah. I hope it's not. Joke time. Skyrim on Alexa, otherwise known as
missed some stuff.
Oh, have I?
Yeah, wrong order.
What have I missed?
Well, there was the bit where they talked about their VR stuff again.
Yeah, they didn't really have anything to say.
No, they did not really. And then they actually had Fallout 76 before this.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, fair enough. I've got. Yeah, I'm not sure about that. But
or as I put in my note, Fallout 76. Wait, let's talk about E3.
I could have sworn he came out and did that was the first thing Todd Howard said was like, "Oh, what else can we put Skyrim on?" But anyway, yeah. It's not a joke, by the way. Skyrim on Alexa isn't a joke.
I guess the Skyrim on Alexa was kind of in the Fallout. It was more a part of the preamble for Fallout 76. Let's talk about E3 and other stuff. Because he came out, it's like, oh, Fallout 76, wait, hang on, we're going to make a joke and talk about some other shit first.
Yeah.
So I guess it was sort of in the same segment.
Yeah. Anyway, whatever.
Yeah.
Skyrim Alexa is a thing you can try. The very special edition. Fallout 76, yeah. So we've got a release date as well for this, and it's so this is where they actually started to talk about what this actually is. Kind of, yeah. So I guess not to tread over ground we've already done. Like the big takeaway is that they did basically say this is online. It's not a single player thing.
Except you can play a single player.
Oh, that was said.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Then I know a lot less about this than I thought. Because I thought that like every player you were going to meet was going to be human.
I mean, that was what it seemed to be implying, but it doesn't necessarily mean you couldn't play it solo. Like they said, if you want to play it solo and not be fucked up by the players, you can, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's designed for that, I guess. It's an option.
What does this mean? There's no NPCs. It's like where does this?
Well, the thing that I found weird about it that kind of screwed with what I thought it was going to be was like they definitely showed enemies. I mean, they showed wildlife enemies, and that's fine. That makes sense. but I'm pretty sure there was a bit there where they showed super mutant enemies, and I'm
Right.
A, that's like straight up NPC enemies, standard FPS enemies even. They're just running around with guns. And B, super mutants shouldn't exist in this game from the lore.
Oh, really? Are they out of sequence?
Well, they're too early, and apparently, I don't really remember this that well, but from what I remember of Fallout 3, I'm pretty sure super mutants were created in a vault in Washington DC, in like the Fallout 3 storyline. You find that out. Like they were actually made deliberately. It wasn't just like random mutations. And
So they're not created from Fallout then.
Well, I mean, theoretically they could be. I guess you could excuse that quite easily by or there was another vault also in West Virginia that was doing the same experiment, and they also made super mutants. Right. Doesn't necessarily completely excuse it. I just found it slightly weird. But yeah, it does look like there are some kind of standard enemies, not just wildlife enemies. At least they didn't show any bandits, I guess. They only showed other players in those bits of combat that they did show.
Briefly, yeah. I don't know. How do you feel about that? If you played it online, would that be what you wanted from a Fallout game? Really?
Well, that's the trouble with all of these style of games, isn't it? It's just like I'm not sure whether it's like I think we said the same thing about CFP, where it's just like, do you really want the PvP? Not like a couple of times if it's entertaining, but then when you just get stomped on all the time, that's not entertaining.
No. I mean, how will it work with the leveling? Is there leveling?
Well, the thing is,
what's happened to VATs?
Well, that may not be a thing, but the thing they said that like dying doesn't remove progress.
Yeah,
which is an interesting thing because it's like it kind of implies that the PvP is pointless, but then that's the same situation as CFEs again, where it's like just because it's pointless doesn't mean it doesn't matter, and it won't piss people off when they get ganked.
Well, you still might spawn somewhere inconvenient and have to make your way there again. For instance, even if it's not steps, like progress. And it's like, I mean, what's the benefit to murdering someone? If you ever think, exactly. Is there a benefit to murdering
Because if they're not losing progress, what are you gaining?
I mean, I guess you can loot their stuff, but
they don't lose it. It's like, does it spawn a copy of their stuff? You just get their stuff.
Is it then exploitable?
Yeah. And they also mentioned that like you can build a camp, which you can. It seems like probably there's going to be some weird Vault Tech technology where it just packs itself into a container that you can just ship around and redeploy. But unfortunately, it does also appear like it may be using quite a similar construction system to Fallout 4, which was terrible. So that's maybe not a good sign. And also, like, there was the other question that people immediately came up with to do with the camp building, where it's just like, okay, so if you're playing solo and you build a camp and then you go into a multiplayer game and your camp is on top of someone else's camp, what the fuck happens?
Right, yeah.
If you've built it in exactly the same place as someone else that you've joined into, how does it resolve that problem?
They probably just picked one, right?
Well, yeah, but then what happens to your camp? Does it just, like, repack into its container thing?
Maybe, yeah. Maybe it just gives it to you.
And then they also went on to not really explain, but mention the, like, nukes situation.
Yeah, that's a weird one.
Yeah.
There are nukes still about. Mini nukes.
Well, relatively mini.
Yeah.
For the Fallout universe.
There we go. And you can blow up some of the map. How does that work?
I mean, it seems because they seem to suggest that like you have to go through this whole like quest line, or not really quest line, but you have to do certain things to get a hold of the launch codes for the nuke. So it's clearly kind of a late game or
I mean that
fairly difficult thing to do.
I mean that stuff sounded kind of interesting.
Yeah, and sort of makes sense. But then when like they say you use the nuke to nuke an area, and then that like creates new resources, which I guess makes sense, kind of, sort of.
Just how the world resets, more than anything.
Well, I'm guessing that it's more like you're generating a dungeon almost, or like a raid. You're using the nuke to create a zone with like higher level stuff in that you can then go and harvest, and then maybe it resets at some point.
Yeah, maybe. What if the whole map actually has like 2 states?
Well, that is what I was theoretically thinking they'd have to do, because they said you can like launch it wherever, and I'm like, okay, so is it just like they basically just made 2 maps and it just morphs between them when you launch the nuke?
Which is kind of a cool idea.
That would be cool if that's what it is, but who knows?
It probably sucks if you've set up camp there. And and all your hard work gets destroyed.
They did definitely suggest that you could launch the nuke at players.
Yeah.
I'm just like, well, that would definitely suck.
It's one of those things, like the way he said it was like in fairness, Todd Howard is the kind of the master of this sort of showpiece.
Yeah.
And like he was like, well, what if we gave you nukes and sort of just let you do what you wanted with them?
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, that sounds fascinating on paper. In practice, I don't know if I'm on board.
No.
I'm not sure I am. I think it sounds like it'd be more frustrating than fun. Well, unless you're the guys firing it, in which case it's the best.
Yeah.
But
and also, where does that fit with the lore?
Mm.
Because clearly, it's like I mean, they did their whole, it has the Vault-Tec style presentation animation elements to it, where it's just like, oh, here's an informational video. It's just like, what is the reason for launching nukes at the country that's just been blown up? At America. You're blowing up your own country just to generate some weird specific resources, apparently.
Yeah. I'm blowing up America. It's like it's quite against the whole like Vault speech, right? And then I guess most of Fallout's world is probably against what the Vaults are for, but
yes.
Yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting one. It's interesting to see them taking it in a different direction, let's put it that way.
But unfortunately, it does look like the same engine.
And it makes sense for them not calling it Fallout 5.
Oh, yes, obviously.
Yeah.
And you can get a helmet.
And you can get a helmet. So you can get a real helmet, a real power armor helmet.
That might actually fit on your head, maybe.
Maybe.
You have an average size head.
Yeah. I mean, I saw some big fellas at these shows. It's got to be said. Some requiring multiple seats, Bet their heads don't fit. Yeah, Fallout 76, 14th of November this year. So we finally have a this year game. One of the few. Probably the only one they mentioned actually this year. Like Bethesda, yeah.
Apart from Fallout Shelter.
Fallout
Shelter. Released on PS4 and Switch.
Yeah.
Which I guess
is that Shadow dropped out now?
Well, apart from the game's already been out
for
a whole year on the other systems. Not really that surprising.
Still going, apparently.
Well, sure.
Still adding to it. Also on their mobile front, they're making Infinity Blade, but for Elder Scrolls. Yep. And it's with. I actually thought the amount of effort it looked like they had gone into making this thing was kind of impressive. Like, do you want to play it with just tap to where you want to go? Yeah, you can do that. Want to immediately switch to using dual stick touchscreen controls? Yeah, you can do that. Just do it. Want to play in portrait mode for some reason? You can do that.
One hand mode.
But they were very specific about, hey, you need to see this thing running on an iPhone X, very specifically. It's like, does this mean it's
going to run on much else?
I imagine it will run like garbage on everything else, because it was impressive. It looked impressive. It's nothing we're going to play, obviously, but unless Dan gets an iPhone X. But
well, I might get one, but I probably won't play any games on it.
Yeah, because your battery won't last. It'll last like 2 minutes.
Yep.
Apparently that's what happens. Like, Fortnite Mobile, like an impressive thing. Absolutely destroy your battery.
Get one round in.
Yeah.
That's it.
It's not like the Switch lasts forever, is it?
No, I guess not, but like that's probably longer than your mobile will, yeah.
Probably.
And then we got some confirmation of the thing, again, everyone knew about, but it hadn't been officially said, that they're working on something brand new. The first IP they've made in 15 years, did they say? I suppose since Rage, but then they might not even count that because it was before they owned id.
Yeah.
So yeah, Starfield, some kind of space RPG is all we know. It's been in development for a long time. Yeah, they finally announced that it's it exists.
Yeah, they didn't say anything else about like dates or anything. It's like it's coming.
It's a thing.
And then somehow, even after that, here comes Elder Scrolls 6. So it's like, what date on Elder Scrolls 6? Like 24. I don't know.
Well, like 2024.
Yeah, it's like you've got to get through the whole of Starfield. It's got to be at least one more year, if not two.
Yeah. Oh no, Elder Scrolls must be miles away.
Yeah.
Bethesda, so this year does actually break a convention. Bethesda are traditionally very good at just saying, hey, we're making this stuff, it's coming out like this year. really soon. This year they broke that, and they were like, "Oh, we're talking about next year mostly."
Well, Fallout's okay.
I mean, yeah, that's their one thing, and that's why they spent so much time on it. So yeah, fair play on that front.
I mean, Starfield, it's like the only reason to say that is just because of the leaks, I guess.
Yeah.
Just to make sure that's confirmed.
They just have to confirm.
And then Elder Scrolls 6, you're only saying that to shut the fuck everyone up. Because you're fed up with hearing them telling you to make Elder Scrolls 6.
Sure. They've got to build a whole new graphics engine for that, surely. Surely that's not Creation Engine.
You would hope in another 4 years they might have made a new engine.
Yeah, I do like the idea of oh, please stop. We're making it.
There are a few other instances in the press conferences where it's just it seems like they were just stop. Shut up. Obviously we're doing this, or we're doing this now, so you can shut up talking about it.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that's why they did the Skyrim jokes a little bit, to be like, hey, fake out, we're not making Elder Scrolls 6 yet. We're going to talk about Skyrim some more, even in this joke.
Well, I mean, the Skyrim joke is just that they actually just made a joke, and it was a fairly decent joke.
Yeah.
They know what's going on with Skyrim.
Apparently that guy that's in the video is a fairly well-known comedy actor. In
what?
America,
you don't know that guy?
I don't know that guy.
Key and Peele. He's the key guy from Key and Peele. Peele made Get Out and everything and won an Oscar and all that stuff. I don't know what this guy's doing. I guess he's doing jokes for press conferences. Anyway, but yeah, they've got a good sketch show, or they did before one of them got super famous.
Okay. Yeah, no idea.
But one thing I noticed about those two is, for some reason, the other day I just was watching on YouTube the classic what's his name with the Weird Al videos.
All right, yeah.
What's the absolute most classic Weird Al songs? Probably Amish Paradise, right? Something like that. And then I watched White and Nerdy, which is his version of Riding Dirty, right?
Yeah.
I want to roll with the gangsters, but I'm just too white and nerdy. And so I was watching the video of that, and the two gangster dudes were like, what the hell? We're Key and Peele. It's oh really? That must have been a long time ago.
Huh.
We've come a long way since then.
Also, there's the Jewish take on Bohemian Rhapsody.
Oh yes.
Go to.
I like the there isn't a video for it, I don't think, but I like the instead of Lola by the Kinks, it's Yoda, of course. Yo Yoda.
Tacky instead of happy. That was pretty good.
Good one. Oh yeah.
Aluminum foil instead of royals by Lord. That's a good one as well.
Yeah. Should we just get through Square Enix real quick?
Yeah, I think we can.
Yeah,
I think we can bust through it. Okay, let's do some more Shadow of the Tomb Raider.
My first question is: was that whole conference just hella blown out, or was that just the stream I was?
No, it was. The sound quality was awful. It was really bad. It was over. I think they were running to my ear, it sounded like they were running a compressor,
right?
But had maxed it out way too far. There was some clipping going on for sure in my version of the stream. There was some horrible in places, but it sounded like it was highly compressed.
And also the president guy who turned up first said Square Enix far too many times.
Square Enix. Say Square Enix one more goddamn time.
Yes, too many.
This was not a great show.
No. Which is why we're about to shit through it.
Yeah. Shadow of Tomb Raider, we've sort of already talked about it. Nothing really to add. Did we get some proper gameplay here, I guess?
Yes. Gameplay.
It looks about as murder. I think it actually looks worse, both visually and gameplay wise, than the previous games, because they focused again on the combat stuff, which is not its strong point. Tomb Raider's best when you're actually in the bloomin' tombs. And they did come out and say, hey, we've got twice as many of them now, something like that. We've made more tombs. And it's great. Really, that was the best stuff. Why haven't we seen any of that? Why are you focusing on Lara getting beat up more and being constantly in peril and
I did like this
mudding up?
I did like the stupid start sequence where they have the dramatic plane crash.
Oh yeah. She says jump out and it doesn't.
Well, she says jump out, and it's okay, that's stupid, but that would probably be your best option, I guess.
Jump in the water, yeah.
But then it's Oh no! What I'll do is I'll put on this incredibly tiny seatbelt. That'll save me.
That was really weird. Why did she
it's not even like
belt?
she's in the half of the plane with the wings. Even
no,
she's literally just falling out of the sky.
She's literally gonna smash into a million bits.
And it's not even a full seatbelt; it's a lap belt.
That's so stupid.
That's the problem with like America, and you know how they don't like seatbelts. It's just like they don't understand how seatbelts work. Apparently.
Yeah, so weird. That sequence is properly odd.
Well, a big issue with the Tomb Raider games in general is that Uncharted just does it better, right? Which is annoying. And Tomb Raider originally was a rip-off of Indiana Jones, right? And so is Uncharted. But Naughty Dog just do it better. And then this time around, they did this like gritty stealth section where she's murdering tons of fools or whatever. And then Naughty Dog just do it a million times better in the Sony conference. So it's like, what's the point?
Yeah. So it's just, I don't know. I just got kind of. I don't like it. I don't really know how to put it into words. I just don't like it. I mean, one of the most overused thing that I think started bothering me last year's conferences and things like that is the whole "I'm just going to walk through bushes" thing again.
Yeah.
And it's like, now we've put bushes on the wall that I can now walk through. And it's like you can't do that. Stop doing that. It's like, it's a convenient mechanic. I get it, but I'm bored of it. I don't.
And it was also quite a bad demo for like dumb AI.
Yeah.
They really,
really dumb.
They really kind of, and there's the bit where like the one of the dudes says the same voice line twice in a row.
Oh, did that happen? There's the same bark.
Yeah, well, not the same bark. It's like he's like, I need a report from somewhere, and then she kills someone, and then it says the same line again because that guy's just like running his sequence again in the background or something.
Well, I thought it was slightly weird that she crept up on the techie guy that was doing something on a laptop or something.
Yeah,
and they're in the middle of they've had a conversation with this guy, so they clearly know him.
Yep.
And then they murder
distracts him. Distracts the other guy with an arrow, kills him, and he turns around and it's like, oh, there's a body.
Yeah, like very generic.
There's a body.
You're not like, oh my god, they killed Steve.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Video game
stuff.
Wouldn't that line just be so much better?
And
it's sort of like quality
also,
sound.
he should automatically go on to high alert because it's the dude literally next. It's not like he happened upon the body on his patrol route.
Yeah,
it's literally the guy he was standing next to 5 seconds ago.
It just comes across as bad, doesn't it?
Yeah, it comes across bad. I mean, Metal Gear Solid 5 really had not anyway perfect, but really pretty good like AI on this stealth stuff, I thought, with the guards and stuff. And anything like more old fashioned than that now just is a bit embarrassing. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, there is something to be said for like simplistic stealth in the sense that like
it's easy.
Yeah, and it's not as
hassle.
And it's not as frustrating as I traditionally find stealth.
Yeah. But there's other ways to make it less frustrating other than having everybody being done. That's not fun. Like, it'd be more interesting if they were smarter.
Dumb can be fun.
Yeah, but it'd be more interesting if they were more believable in their behavior, but you had more tools to offset that, or more, you know what I mean? Like even the Batman stuff where you're up in the rafters or whatever. Like anything where you have some kind of advantage in the stealth.
It just, I guess the big takeaway from it is it makes me feel like they don't know what has been bad about the previous two games. They just don't know. The combat has been okay, but it's been a little bit flaky at times. The stealth has been just okay, a little bit flaky. The writing has been awful, and none of those things seem any different. There's just there's a certain they just don't quite. They want to add more rather than fix what was the problem. I mean, more tombs, that's great. At least they learned that part. People like tombs. It's in your name. Yeah, they got that bit right last time, and
that's something they have over like Uncharted or whatever. That's more it's more like a Zelda type thing, isn't it? They're like shrines, only not as good. But,
yeah, I guess. But they all work. In the last game, all of them were pretty unique. They didn't really revisit ideas. Similar to how Zelda treats most of its shrines, like ignoring the combat ones. Yeah, so it does have that going for it. If they can do that again, great. It's just the rest of it. It's just the trappings, the non-tomb raiding. I just don't get a good. Yeah. Anyway, there's not much more to say to that, but yeah, I don't like it. Don't like it. It's not giving me good vibes. Let's not talk about it again. Keith David time. Doing a little bit of voiceover.
Well, that was their thing for this not really press conference, but it's just a video.
Yeah.
What?
So
Everything is Keith David.
No, Keith David. Come on, man. He's still cool. That voice is still amazing. It did give me. Oh, I'm still like, yeah. You should have been at the Halo presentation. Just doing something. Just give me some Arbiter, some sweet Arbiter tones. Final Fantasy 14 Cross Monster Hunter. Monster Hunter. I don't know. That's kind of cool. I suppose if you're into 14,
I'm sure it's not. It doesn't look like
it was just a Rathalos, right? The Rathalos and the what are the cats called? Palicos, something like that.
It's just like a little mini, just like a boss, probably.
Yeah, probably.
Or a raid, single thing.
That's kind of fun. We got a different Captain Spirit trailer.
Yeah.
And I think we got the date this time. I'm not sure we had the date before, but anyway, 26th of June. Very soon.
Yeah.
Like a few days away. Well, it's a couple of weeks. And we got some. This is where things started going awry, like properly awry. Like
you don't like Dragon Quest?
I mean, no, but there was something else was playing in the background of the stream.
Yeah,
there was some conversation that was not anywhere else in this talk about architecture and something, and it's like, where was this sound coming from?
I don't think that was on Square. I think that was on
the GameSpot feed.
The GameSpot feed.
Okay. Oh, okay. Fair enough then. Fair enough. I'll take that back. It's good. Dragon Quest looks like a good-looking game.
I've added an extra E somehow, so it's Dragoon Quest.
Dragoon Quest. Oh man, if it was like Panzer Dragoon Quest. What are they on? Like 11 now?
It's 11. Although when you say that what are they on, we're probably still like 2 behind.
Yeah. It's a good-looking game. Also seems like it's gone a little bit actiony rather than turn-based-y.
Because this is Square we're talking about.
Because it's Square, yeah. I thought Dragon Quest was the one that was sort of staying turn-based, or had stayed turn-based for a while.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is 11.
Okay, yeah. I guess the one surprise of the Square show then? Oh no, there's a couple of surprises, yeah. What's Babylon's Fall about?
Who knows?
Yeah, good question, yeah.
I mean, there was a lot of historical text in that video that you might be able to infer something from if you can be bothered.
Yes, yeah. And a bit of me was thinking, is this something? Is this a franchise of theirs that they're rebuilding? But then no, it seems like it's something else.
I mean, to me, just from the historical text aspect of it, it was looking quite a lot like a Dark Souls-esque thing. Yeah.
But then why would Square have that? Or maybe they would build it themselves. Yeah. Something else. Like, I don't know. The way they were doing all the historical stuff made me feel, is this a world that's established?
Yeah, and that's the other thing where it's like, is this just something I don't know?
Yeah. for the fans. Anyway, don't know. I have no idea what that game is. Didn't really show anything. 2019.
On the plus side, it is at least a thing and not an engine.
True. Yeah.
It wasn't an engine teaser like they tend to do.
It's like, yeah, we're making a game. And then just a reminder that Nier's coming to Xbox.
Yep. A reminder that Octopath is about to come out.
Yep.
A reminder that Just Cause 4 is a Square thing.
It's pretty much the same trailer that they showed at Xbox. They didn't really extrapolate here.
Just Cause 4 was the one where they did more detail, right? They actually talked about it.
I think they did that at the PC Gaming show.
I'm pretty sure it was in the Square one as well.
Okay.
Because I didn't watch the PC Gaming thing.
Or maybe I think they had some on-screen stuff about, hey, we've increased the granularity of destruction and stuff like that, and some techie details.
Because there was a dude talking. That was the thing in the more deep, whichever one it was that had that.
There's a dude on stage at PC Gaming that obviously talks.
Well, no, there was a dude talking over the Just Cause thing in one. It was either the Microsoft one or the Square one. I don't remember which one.
Whatevs. They're more Just Cause 4. We've already talked about it. This next trailer came a little bit out of left field. The Quiet Man. A dude walks up to some punks, is apparently deaf.
Apparently.
Beats them up.
in FMV.
In FMV.
Initially.
Oh yeah, in FMV, and then swaps to
then punching in gameplay, and then back to FMV. Maybe at the end, I can tell.
But if that, I don't know quite how that transition happened or when, but it was if that's like how the game plays, then it's like that is slick as hell.
I wouldn't have bet on it. But what is like what is it? It's just like Quantum Break again, where it's like a TV show and a game.
Oh, we'll come back to that thought. We'll come back to that thought.
Remedy.
Yeah. I don't know. Again, just like nice to see something new.
Yeah, I guess.
Nice to see something new. I want to know more. Well done there. And they finished on more Kingdom Hearts.
Because that's their biggest thing, I guess.
Yeah. Was this where they finally... No. Was this where they talked Pirates of the Caribbean at last?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
Although I say that's their biggest thing, you'll notice that they didn't say any fucking thing about Final Fantasy VII.
No. No FF7 remake chat this year. Not a sausage. Is this project doomed?
Well, it did kind of seem doomed even like last year and the year before.
Yeah.
It seemed doomed from the start, more or less.
So long. All right. I think this is an appropriate place to break.
Yeah, I think so.
Cool.
Because we've still got
3 more.
Ubisoft PC Gaming Show, which we'll do briefly.
Yeah.
The Sony Show.
And the Nintendo.
And obviously Nintendo.
Cool.
Nintendo.
Cool. Thanks for joining us for part 1 of our E3 special 2018. Join us for part 2 for all of those.
We didn't talk Devolver. We could touch on that quickly, I suppose.
Is there anything to say about that?
3 games.
They release games, that's what Devolver does.
Yeah, and they do stupid shows that got more stupid this year and less funny. Scum looks like a Battle Royale game, I think, from what I remember of it. I don't know, that one passed me by. My friend Pedro, however, looks pretty cool.
Well, they've already showed that before.
Yeah, we already knew that was... And apparently it used to be a Flash game that has been highly upgraded.
Well, I don't know if it upgraded as much as remade.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah. And then, okay, I've heard of Metal Wolf Chaos before. That's apparently a thing. They're doing a re-release of it or something. Mechs at the White House, I think is what I gathered from that. I think it was like an OG Xbox game or something like that. I can't remember. I vaguely remember it being a thing and people going, "This is bonkers" in the right sort of way. Like it's a kind of bad game, but the setting and the story and how it all plays out is, madness in an entertaining way. So, all right, that's coming back. Anyway, yeah, I'm done. I thought we could crap that one through. But yeah, sorry. Say bye again.
Bye.
Okay, good.